Welcome, dear listeners, to tonight's journey through the ancient streets of Rome, where legends of valor and virtue were carved into stone, but where shadows of ambition, betrayal, and chaos often whispered a different tale. As we unravel the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, from its humble beginnings on the Tiber's banks to the dawn of an empire under Augustus, we'll uncover stories of farmer soldiers, ruthless generals, and star-crossed lovers, tales of triumph and tragedy that shaped the world we know today. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you find solace in these historical journeys, and let me know in the comments where you're joining us from and what time it is for you. I love hearing from our global community of sleepless historians. Now dim the lights, perhaps let the gentle hum of a fan fill the room and settle in as we step back to 509 BC. When the Roman people cast off their kings and planted the seeds of a republic that would change history forever. Imagine a small, unremarkable city nestled among the 7 hills along the Tiber River, its streets alive with the scent of freshly tilled earth and the distant bleating of sheep. This was Rome in the late 6th century BC, a modest settlement of farmers and shepherds, far removed from the grandeur it would one day embody. The year was 509 BC, or so the legends tell us, when the Roman people, weary of the tyranny of their kings, rose up in quiet defiance. The last of these kings, Tarquin the Proud, had ruled with an iron hand, his arrogance and cruelty stirring resentment among the citizens. It was said that his son, Sextus Tarquinius, committed a heinous act, the assault of a noblewoman named Lucretia, whose tragic-built death became the spark that ignited a revolution. Lucretia's husband, Lucius Tarquinius Collatinus, and a nobleman named Lucius Junius Brutus, gathered the people in the Forum, a simple open space where the community often met to trade goods and share news. Under the flickering light of torches, their flames casting long shadows across the cobblestones, Brutus spoke to the assembled crowd. His voice was steady and resolute, yet it carried the gentle cadence of a man who had seen too much suffering and longed for peace. He called for the expulsion of the Tarquins, not with the fiery passion of a warrior, but with the calm determination of a farmer who knows the seasons must change. The Romans, a practical people who valued order above all, nodded in agreement, their murmurs rising like a soft breeze through the olive groves. Tarquin and his family were driven from the city, their palaces left empty, their names whispered only in disdain as the wind carried their memory away. In place of the monarchy, the Romans established a new form of government, a republic, a word that would one day echo across the centuries. Power would no longer rest in the hands of a single man, but would be shared among the citizens, or at least those deemed worthy of the title. 2 consuls were elected each year to lead the city, their authority checked by the Senate, a council of elder statesmen drawn from the wealthiest and most influential families. These patricians, as they were called, traced their lineage back to the founding fathers of Rome. Their names, Cornelius, Fabius, Claudius, etched into the annals of history like the grooves of a plow in the fertile earth. The consuls, chosen through a vote in the assembly, served as both political leaders and military commanders, their term limited to a single year to prevent any one man from amassing too much power. The Forum, once a humble marketplace where farmers bartered grain and wool, became the heart of this new republic, a place where citizens gathered to cast their votes in assemblies. The air was thick with the scent of dust and sweat as men in simple tunics stood shoulder to shoulder, their voices rising like the soft rustle of leaves in a summer breeze. It was a system that seemed radical for its time, a stark contrast to the monarchies of neighboring Etruria or the distant empires of the East, where kings ruled with divine authority, their palaces adorned with gold, and their decrees unchallenged. In Rome, the power of the people, however limited, offered a glimpse of something new, a fragile experiment in shared governance that would one day shape the world. Yet, for all its promise of equality, the Republic was not a utopia. Power remained concentrated in the hands of the patricians, whose wealth and lineage ensured their dominance in the elections. Their villas, perched atop the Palatine Hill, overlooked the city like silent sentinels, their walls adorned with the spoils of early victories, bronze shields and spears taken from defeated foes. The plebeians, the common farmers and laborers who tilled the land and built the city, had a voice, but it was a faint one, often drowned out by the weight of tradition. A plebeian might stand in the forum, his hands rough from years of working the fields, and cast his vote for a consul. But the candidates were almost always patricians, their names known to all their families, revered as the backbone of Rome. Women, too, were excluded from this new political order, their roles confined to the hearth and home, their voices unheard in the forum. In the soft glow of an oil lamp, a Roman matron might weave cloth or prepare a meal of barley porridge. Her children gathered around her as she told them stories of the gods, Jupiter, the father of the heavens, or Vesta, the goddess of the hearth. Her life was one of quiet duty, her influence felt within the walls of her home, but never in the public sphere. Slaves captured in Rome's early wars against its neighbors toiled in the fields and households, their lives a stark reminder of the Republic's limits. A slave might carry a basket of grain through the streets, his shoulders bowed under the weight, his eyes averted from the citizens who passed him by, knowing that freedom was a dream he would never touch. For those who held the title of citizen, however, there were benefits that set Rome apart. Citizenship meant not just the right to vote, but the right to a fair trial, protection under the law, and the honor of serving in the military, a duty that every Roman man embraced with pride. To be a citizen was to be part of something greater, a community bound by shared values and a shared history. It was a privilege that came with responsibilities, for the Republic demanded much of its people. In times of war, a citizen might be called to leave his plow in the field and take up a spear, marching out to defend the city against its enemies. In times of peace, he might serve as a juror in a trial, his voice helping to decide the fate of a fellow Roman accused of a crime. The Romans of this era saw themselves as a nation of farmer soldiers, their lives governed by the rhythms of the seasons and the demands of war. In the spring, they would plant their crops, wheat, barley, olives under the warm Italian sun, their hands calloused from the plow, the earth yielding to their steady labor. The fields stretched out around the city, patches of green and gold beneath a sky as blue as the Tiber's waters, the air filled with the hum of bees and the scent of wildflowers. Come summer, these same men would don their armor, simple bronze breastplates and leather sandals, and march out to defend their city against the neighboring tribes, the Sabines, the Aequi, the Volsci. These early Romans were not the disciplined legions of later centuries. They were a citizen militia, armed with spears and shields, their tactics rudimentary, but their resolve unshakable. A Roman soldier might stand on a hillside, his shield heavy on his arm, watching the enemy approach through a haze of dust. The Sabines, their faces painted with ochre, would charge with a fierce cry, their spears gleaming in the sunlight. The Romans, outnumbered and weary, would hold their ground, their formation tight, their voices raised in a steady chant to the god Mars, the protector of their city. Even when the battle turned against them, they would not flee. They would fight until the last man fell, or until the enemy retreated, their determination a quiet, unyielding force that would one day carry Rome to greatness. This resolve was born of necessity, for Rome in its early days was surrounded by enemies, each tribe eager to claim the fertile lands along the Tiber. The city's position was both a blessing and a curse. Its hills offered natural defense, but its location made it a target for raiders and invaders. The Aequi, a fierce people from the eastern mountains, would descend upon Roman farms, burning crops and stealing livestock, their laughter echoing through the valleys. The Volsci, to the south, would blockade the trade routes, their warriors clad in wolf skins, their eyes sharp with hunger. Yet the Romans, time and again, would regroup, their losses only strengthening their resolve. The early Republic was a time of simplicity, a time when the Romans lived close to the earth, their lives dictated by the cycles of nature. A farmer might rise before dawn, his breath visible in the cool morning air, and walk to his fields, a wooden plow slung over his shoulder. His wife would follow, a basket of seeds in her hands, her children trailing behind, their laughter soft and fleeting. Together they would work until the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky painted in hues of amber and rose, the distant hills a dark silhouette against the fading light. At night, they would return to their home, a modest structure of mud and thatch, its walls warmed by a small fire. The scent of burning wood would fill the air, mingling with the aroma of a simple meal, bread baked on a stone, a stew of lentils and herbs, a cup of watered wine. As the family gathered around the hearth, the firelight casting a soft glow on their faces, they would speak in hushed tones of the new republic, of the consuls who led them, and of the challenges that lay ahead. The children, their eyes heavy with sleep, would listen to tales of Romulus and Remus, the twin brothers raised by a she-wolf who had founded the city centuries before. They would hear of Aeneas, the Trojan hero who had fled the burning city of Troy and sailed to Italy, his journey guided by the gods. These stories, passed down through generations, were more than mere entertainment. They were a reminder of Rome's destiny, a destiny that the Republic in its infancy was only beginning to fulfill. The Senate, too, was a place of stories, its members gathering in a simple wooden hall on the Capitoline Hill, their togas draped over their shoulders, their voices low and measured. These men, the patricians, were the guardians of Rome's traditions, their decisions shaping the city's future. A senator might rise to speak, his words deliberate, his gaze fixed on the horizon, as he proposed a new law to govern the distribution of land. Another might argue for a campaign against the Sabines, his hand resting on the hilt of a ceremonial dagger, a relic of his family's past. The debates were long, the air heavy with the scent of incense and the weight of history. But always the senators would find a way forward, their loyalty to the Republic unwavering. Beyond the city, the Seven Hills stood as silent witnesses to Rome's transformation. The Palatine, where the wealthiest families built their homes, was dotted with olive trees, their leaves shimmering in the moonlight. The Aventine, a haven for the plebeians, sloped gently toward the Tiber, its paths worn by the footsteps of laborers returning from the fields. The Capitoline, crowned by a small temple to Jupiter, rose above the Forum, its peak a place of prayer and sacrifice, where priests in white robes offered gifts to the gods, their chants rising into the night sky. Each hill had its own character, its own history, but together they formed the heart of Rome, a city that, in 509 BC, was little more than a dream of order, of justice, of a people united under a shared ideal. The Tiber River, too, played its part in Rome's story, its waters a lifeline for the city. Fishermen cast their nets in the early morning, their boats small and sturdy, their catches of eel and perch a staple of the Roman diet. Traders from Etruria and Latium docked their barges along the riverbanks, their goods, pottery, wool, salt, laid out on wooden stalls in the Forum. The river was a place of life, its gentle current a constant reminder of the world beyond Rome's borders, a world that the Republic would one day seek to conquer. But for now, the Tiber was a source of sustenance, its banks a gathering place for the community, where children played in the shallows and elders sat in the shade, their voices soft as they spoke of the past. As the first year of the Republic drew to a close, the Romans gathered to celebrate their new government, their spirits high despite the challenges ahead. In the Forum, a festival was held, the air filled with the scent of roasted meat and the sound of laughter. Torches lined the square, their flames casting a warm glow on the faces of the citizens, who danced and sang beneath the stars. A priest, his robe stained with the blood of a sacrificed bull, offered prayers to Jupiter, asking for the god's blessing on the Republic. The people watched in silence, their hearts swelling with pride, their hopes for the future as bright as the flames that lit the night. Little did they know that their small city, born of rebellion and resolve, would one day become the heart of an empire, its name whispered in awe and fear across the known world. But for now, they slept, the gentle hum of crickets and the distant crackle of a wood fire lulling them into dreams of a future yet unwritten. The Republic was young, its institutions fragile, its people untested, but in the hearts of the Romans burned a quiet determination, a resolve that would carry them through the centuries, from the banks of the Tiber to the farthest reaches of the Mediterranean. And so, under the watchful gaze of the Seven Hills, Rome began its journey, a journey that would change the course of history forever. Picture a Roman farmer standing in his field, the early morning sun casting a golden glow across the rolling hills of Latium. The year is 500 BC, and the Republic is still in its infancy, its ideals of shared governance taking root like the barley he sows in the fertile earth. His hands, rough from years of labor, grip a wooden plow as he guides it through the soil, the scent of damp earth and wild herbs filling the air. This man, like so many of his fellow Romans, is more than a farmer. He is a citizen soldier, a pillar of the young republic, his life a delicate balance between the demands of the land and the call of duty. As the Tiber River winds lazily through the valley below, its waters shimmering in the dawn light, he knows that at any moment a horn might sound, summoning him to leave his plow and take up a spear in defense of his city. In the early days of the Roman Republic, citizenship was the beating heart of the state, a sacred bond that tied the people to their city and to one another. To be a Roman citizen was to hold a title of honor, a privilege that set one apart in a world where monarchs and tyrants ruled with absolute power. Citizenship granted a man the right to vote in the assemblies, where he could cast his ballot for the consuls who would lead the city for the year. These assemblies, held in the forum under the open sky, were a sight to behold. Hundreds of men in simple tunics, their faces weathered by the sun, gathered in quiet anticipation. The air would hum with the soft murmur of voices, the rustle of cloaks and the distant cry of a hawk soaring above the Capitoline Hill, as the citizens exercised their hard-won right to shape the future of Rome. But citizenship was not merely a right, it was a responsibility, a pact sealed in the blood and sweat of those who bore the title. The most sacred of these duties was military service, a cornerstone of Roman identity that defined the citizen soldier. Every man between the ages of 17 and 46 was expected to serve when called, leaving behind his farm or workshop to march under the banners of the Republic. In the spring, as the first buds appeared on the olive trees, a consul might ride through the city, his crimson cloak billowing in the wind, proclaiming the need for soldiers to defend Rome against a neighboring tribe. The citizens would gather their gear, simple bronze helmets, leather sandals, and wooden shields painted with the emblem of their family, and assemble on the field of Mars, a grassy plain just outside the city walls where the Tiber's waters whispered softly in the background. The Roman army of this era was not the disciplined legion of later centuries, with its gleaming armor and precise formations. It was a citizen militia, a ragtag band of farmers and laborers who fought not for gold or glory, but for the survival of their city and the honor of their name. A soldier might carry a spear carved from oak, its tip sharpened by his own hand, and a short sword passed down from his father, its blade nicked from battles long past. His armor was little more than a breastplate of beaten bronze, strapped over a woolen tunic, the fabric rough against his skin. As he marched alongside his neighbors, their footsteps stirring the dust of the Via Appia, he would feel the weight of his shield on his arm, the heat of the sun on his back, and the quiet pride of knowing he fought for something greater than himself. The battles of this time were small but fierce, skirmishes against the Sabines or the Aequi, tribes whose lands bordered Rome's own. On a summer's day, a Roman soldier might find himself on a rocky hillside, the air thick with the scent of pine and the buzz of cicadas, as the enemy approached. The Sabines, their faces painted with ochre, would charge with a fierce cry, their spears gleaming in the sunlight, their shields adorned with the pelts of wolves. The Romans, outnumbered and weary, would form a tight line, their shields locked together, their voices raised in a chant to Mars, the god of war, whose temple on the Capitoline watched over them from afar. The clash of metal on wood would echo through the valley, the cries of the wounded mingling with the rustle of leaves in the wind, as the Romans held their ground, their determination a quiet, unyielding force. Even in defeat, the Romans would not break. If a battle was lost, the survivors would retreat to the safety of the Seven Hills, their spirits bruised but unbroken. In the shade of an olive grove, they would tend to their wounds, wrapping linen around bloodied arms, sharing a simple meal of bread and cheese as the sun dipped below the horizon. The stars would emerge one by one, in a sky as deep as the Tyrrhenian Sea, and the men would speak in hushed tones of the day's fight, their voices soft with resolve. They would return, they vowed, as they always did, their losses only strengthening their commitment to the Republic. This resilience, this quiet refusal to yield, was the true strength of the citizen soldier, a strength that would one day carry Rome to the farthest corners of the Mediterranean. Citizenship also brought other privileges, ones that set Rome apart from its neighbors. A citizen had the right to a fair trial, a protection that ensured he could not be punished without due process. In the Forum, a man accused of theft might stand before a magistrate, his hands bound with rope, as his neighbors testified on his behalf. The magistrate, a patrician in a white toga, would listen with a calm demeanor, his decisions guided by the laws inscribed on the 12 tables, a set of bronze plaques displayed for all to see. The accused, if found innocent, would walk free, his honor restored, his place in the community reaffirmed. This right to justice, however imperfect, was a cornerstone of Roman identity, a promise that even the humblest citizen had value in the eyes of the state. Yet, for all the privileges of citizenship, the Republic was far from egalitarian. Power remained firmly in the hands of the patricians, the wealthy elite whose families had dominated Rome since its founding. A patrician might sit in his villa on the Palatine Hill, sipping wine from a silver cup as he planned his campaign for the consulship. His lineage, perhaps tracing back to the legendary Aeneas, gave him an aura of authority, his name known to every citizen in the Forum. The plebeians, the common farmers and artisans, might vote in the assemblies, but their choices were limited to the candidates put forth by these elite families. A plebeian farmer, his hands stained with the soil of his fields, might dream of a better life for his children, but the path to power was steep, its gates guarded by tradition and wealth. Women, too, were excluded from the political life of the Republic, their roles confined to the domestic sphere, their voices silenced in the public arena. In a modest Roman home, a woman might rise at dawn, her hair bound in a simple braid, as she lit the fire in the hearth. The scent of burning wood would fill the air, mingling with the aroma of barley porridge simmering in a clay pot as she prepared breakfast for her family. Her children, their laughter soft and fleeting, would gather around her, their eyes bright with curiosity, as she told them stories of the gods, Jupiter, the father of the heavens, or Minerva, the goddess of wisdom. Her husband, a citizen soldier, might be away, marching with the militia, leaving her to tend the farm, manage the household, and ensure the family's survival. Her work was vital, her strength the backbone of the family, but in the eyes of the Republic, she was invisible, her contributions unacknowledged. Slaves, too, were a stark reminder of the Republic's limits, their lives a shadow cast by Rome's early victories. A slave might toil in the fields alongside his master, his back bent under the weight of a basket of grain, his skin burned by the sun. Captured in a war against the Volsci, he might have once been a farmer himself, with a family and a home of his own. But now he was property, his freedom stripped away by the fortunes of war. In the city, a slave girl might serve in a patrician household, her hands trembling as she poured wine for her master's guests, her eyes downcast to avoid their gaze. She would hear the laughter of the free, the clink of silver on the table, and the murmur of conversation about the Republic's future, but she would have no part in it, her voice silenced by the chains of her status. Despite these inequalities, the Roman Republic of the 5th century BC was a place of quiet pride, a community bound by shared values and a shared history. The citizen soldier, with his plow in one hand and his spear in the other, was the embodiment of this spirit, a man who lived for both the land and the state. In the evenings, as the sun set over the 7 hills, casting a warm glow across the city, families would gather in their homes, their oil lamps flickering in the darkness. The scent of burning wood would drift through the air, a comforting reminder of the hearth as they shared a simple meal, bread baked on a stone, a stew of lentils and herbs, a cup of watered wine. The children, their eyes heavy with sleep, would listen to their father speak of the day's work, of the vote he had cast in the forum, or of the battle he had fought on a distant hill. He might tell them of Romulus, the founder of Rome, who had marked the city's boundaries with a plow drawn by a white ox and a white cow, or of Numa Pompilius, the second king who had taught the Romans the ways of peace and religion. These stories, passed down through generations, were a reminder of the Republic's origins, a testament to the resilience of a people who had cast off tyranny to build something new. As the fire in the hearth burned low, its embers glowing softly in the darkness, the family would settle into their beds, the straw mattresses rustling beneath them. Outside, the city slept, the 7 hills standing as silent sentinels under a sky filled with stars. The Tiber flowed gently, its waters a lifeline for the community, while the distant howl of a wolf echoed through the night, a reminder of the wild world beyond Rome's borders. The citizen soldiers of Rome, their hearts filled with duty and pride, dreamed of a future where their city would grow, its name a beacon of order and strength in a chaotic world. Little did they know how far that dream would take them, from the banks of the Tiber to the farthest reaches of the Mediterranean, their legacy written in the annals of history for centuries to come. Close your eyes and imagine the rolling hills of central Italy in the 5th century BC, where the sun casts a gentle glow over fields of wheat and vineyards, and the air carries the scent of wild thyme and freshly turned earth. The year is 496 BC, and the young Roman Republic, still finding its footing, gazes outward from its 7 hills, its citizens dreaming of a future beyond the banks of the Tiber. The city of Rome, though small, pulses with a quiet ambition. Its people, a hardy mix of farmers and soldiers ready to expand their influence across the Italian peninsula. The Tiber River, a silver ribbon winding through the landscape, reflects the dawn light, its waters whispering tales of the lands beyond, lands that Rome will soon claim as its own. In these early days, Rome was not the mighty empire it would one day become, but a modest city-state surrounded by neighbors who viewed it with suspicion and envy. To the north lay the Etruscans, a sophisticated people whose cities, Veii, Tarquinii, Caere, were adorned with painted tombs and bronze statues, their culture rich with art and ritual. To the east, the Sabines dwelt in rugged hill country, their villages perched on rocky outcrops, their warriors clad in animal pelts, their loyalty fierce to their own kin. To the south, the Volsci and the Aequi roamed the fertile valleys, their tribes united by a shared desire to protect their lands from the growing power on the Tiber. These neighbors were not mere obstacles to Rome's expansion. They were formidable foes, each with their own traditions, their own gods, and their own reasons to resist the upstart republic. The Romans, however, possessed a quality that set them apart, a dogged resilience, a quiet determination that refused to yield, even in the face of defeat. In the early years of the Republic, their military was little more than a citizen militia, composed of farmers who left their plows to take up spears. Their armor simple, their tactics unrefined. A Roman soldier might march out in the summer heat, his leather sandals slapping against the dusty path, his bronze helmet glinting faintly in the sunlight, his shield painted with the emblem of his family, a wolf, a bull, or an eagle, hung heavy on his arm, and his spear carved from oak rested on his shoulder. Beside him walked his neighbors, men he had known since childhood, their faces weathered by the sun, their voices low as they spoke of the harvest they had left behind. The first battles were small but fierce, skirmishes fought in the hills and valleys of central Italy, where the clash of metal and the cries of the wounded echoed through the olive groves. In 496 BC, the Romans faced the Latins, their closest neighbors, at the Battle of Lake Regillus. The Latins, allied with the exiled Tarquin kings, sought to restore the monarchy, their forces bolstered by the hope of reclaiming Rome for their own. The battle took place on a sunlit plain near a shimmering lake, the air thick with the scent of wildflowers and the buzz of insects. The Romans, led by the consul Aulus Postumius, formed a tight line, their shields locked together, their spears lowered as the Latins charged. The fighting was brutal, the ground soon stained with blood, but the Romans held firm, their resolve unshaken even as their numbers dwindled. Legend tells of the Dioscuri, the twin gods Castor and Pollux, appearing on horseback to aid the Romans, their divine presence a sign of Rome's destiny. When the dust settled, the Romans emerged victorious, their enemies scattered, their victory a quiet testament to their unyielding spirit. But the Battle of Lake Regillus was only the beginning. Over the next century, Rome waged a series of wars against its neighbors, each conflict a stepping stone in its slow, methodical conquest of Italy. The Etruscans of Veii, just 12 miles north of Rome, proved a stubborn foe, their city fortified with stone walls, their warriors armed with bronze swords and chariots. The Romans laid siege to Veii for 10 years, their camps dotting the countryside, their soldiers enduring harsh winters and scorching summers, the scent of campfires and roasted meat a constant companion. In 396 BC, under the leadership of the dictator Marcus Furius Camillus, Rome finally triumphed, breaching Veii's walls and claiming the city as its own. The spoils, gold, pottery, and sacred statues, were paraded through the streets of Rome, the citizens cheering softly as the torchlight cast a warm glow on their faces. What set Rome apart in these early wars was not its military might, but its policy toward the defeated. Unlike other ancient powers, which often enslaved their enemies or razed their cities to the ground, Rome pursued a strategy of incorporation, a practice that would become the foundation of its strength. After a victory, the Romans would gather the leaders of the defeated tribe in the forum, their hands bound with rope, their faces etched with defiance. A consul, his toga draped over his shoulders, would offer them a choice: submit to Rome and become part of its system, or face destruction. Most chose submission, their pride tempered by the promise of survival. Rome's policy was as ingenious as it was pragmatic. The defeated were not treated as mere subjects, but as partners in a shared enterprise, their status carefully gradated to reflect their loyalty and usefulness to the Republic. Some, like the elites of the Latin cities, were granted full Roman citizenship, their rights equal to those of Rome's own citizens. They could vote in the assemblies, hold office, and even marry into Roman families, their children growing up with the same privileges as those born on the Tiber. Others, such as the Sabines, were given half-citizenship, a status known as civitas sine suffragio, citizenship without the vote. They could own land, trade with Romans, and enjoy legal protections, but they could not participate in the assemblies, their political influence limited. Still others, like the Volsci, were made allies, their cities allowed to retain a degree of autonomy in exchange for loyalty and tribute. Each of these categories came with its own set of rights and responsibilities, but all shared one universal requirement: the provision of troops to the Roman army. A Sabine half-citizen might march alongside a Roman farmer, their shields bearing different emblems, but their purpose the same: to defend the Republic and expand its borders. An allied Volscian warrior, his loyalty secured by the promise of protection, might fight under a Roman banner, his spear raised against a common enemy. This system of incorporation created a vast manpower reserve, a resource that gave Rome a decisive edge in battle. While other city-states struggled to field armies after a single defeat, Rome could draw on the strength of its allies, its forces swelling with each new conquest, its legions a patchwork of italics united under a single cause. By the late 4th century BC, Rome had brought much of central Italy under its sway, its influence stretching from the Apennine Mountains to the Tyrrhenian Sea. The city of Capua, a wealthy center in Campania, submitted to Roman rule in 338 BC, its leaders swearing allegiance in the Forum, their voices soft with resignation. The Samnites, a fierce people of the southern mountains, fought a series of wars against Rome, their warriors armed with javelins and short swords, their tactics suited to the rugged terrain. The Samnite Wars spanning decades were a grueling test of Rome's resolve, but in the end the Republic prevailed, its armies marching through the Samnite hills, their banners fluttering in the wind, the scent of pine and smoke trailing in their wake. With each victory, Rome grew, its territory expanding, its population swelling with new citizens and allies. The Via Appia, a road of packed earth and stone, was constructed to connect Rome to its southern territories, its path lined with cypress trees, their shadows offering respite to weary travelers. Along the road, Roman farmers settled in new colonies, their fields stretching out like a patchwork quilt, their harvests feeding the growing city. In the Forum, the spoils of war were displayed: bronze statues from Veii, gold jewelry from Capua, sacred relics from the Samnites, each a reminder of Rome's growing power, each a symbol of the Republic's destiny. As the sun set over the Italian peninsula, casting a warm glow across the landscape, the Romans gathered in their homes, their oil lamps flickering in the darkness. The scent of burning wood filled the air, mingling with the aroma of a simple meal: bread baked on a stone, a stew of lentils and herbs, a cup of watered wine. In the distance, the Apennines stood as silent sentinels, their peaks bathed in the light of a crescent moon, while the Tiber flowed gently, its waters a lifeline for the Republic. The Romans, their hearts filled with pride, spoke in hushed tones of their victories, of the lands they had claimed, and of the future that lay ahead. They had conquered central Italy, but their journey was far from over, for the peninsula was vast, and beyond its shores lay a world waiting to be tamed. Imagine the shimmering waters of the western Mediterranean in the 3rd century BC, where the sun dips low on the horizon, casting a golden path across the waves. The year is 264 BC, and the Roman Republic, now a dominant force on the Italian peninsula, gazes across the sea with a mix of curiosity and ambition. The scent of salt and seaweed drifts on the breeze, mingling with the distant cry of gulls as they wheel above the rocky shores of Sicily. Rome, once a small city of farmers and soldiers, has grown into a power to be reckoned with, its 7 hills bustling with the energy of a people eager to expand their influence beyond the lands they know. But across the water lies a rival, a city as ancient and proud as Rome itself. Carthage, a maritime empire whose ships rule the waves, their sails billowing like the wings of a great bird against the twilight sky. Carthage, founded by Phoenician settlers in the 9th century BC, was a jewel of the Mediterranean, its harbor a forest of masts, its markets alive with the scents of spices, cedarwood, and dyed fabrics. The city, perched on the northern coast of Africa in what is now modern-day Tunisia, was a marvel of engineering. Its circular harbor protected by high walls, its docks bustling with merchants from across the known world. The Carthaginians were a seafaring people, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the sea, their wealth built on trade routes that stretched from the shores of Spain to the Levant. They traded in purple dye, a luxury prized by kings, extracted from the murex snail, its color as rich as the sunset. They carried tin from the distant islands of Britannia, glass from Egypt, and ivory from the heart of Africa, their ships laden with treasures that glittered in the sun. The Carthaginians were led by a council of wealthy aristocrats, their power rooted in commerce and naval prowess. At the head of their military stood the Barcid family, a lineage of generals whose name would soon become synonymous with both brilliance and tragedy. The Carthaginian navy was the envy of the Mediterranean, its triremes, long, sleek warships with 3 rows of oars, cutting through the waves with the grace of a dolphin. Each ship was manned by hundreds of rowers, their oars dipping into the water in perfect rhythm, the beat of a drum echoing across the sea. The sails, dyed in the colors of Carthage, purple and gold, caught the wind, propelling the ships toward distant ports, their bronze rams gleaming at the prow, ready to crush any who dared challenge their dominance. Rome, by contrast, was a land power, its strength rooted in the disciplined ranks of its citizen soldiers, who had conquered the Italian peninsula through sheer determination. The Romans were farmers and builders, their hands more accustomed to the plow than the oar, their knowledge of the sea limited to the fishing boats that plied the Tiber. Yet, as Rome's influence grew, so did its appetite for expansion, and the island of Sicily, just across the narrow Strait of Messina, beckoned like a ripe fruit waiting to be plucked. Sicily was a land of rolling hills and fertile valleys, its fields rich with grain, its cities, Syracuse, Agrigentum, Messana, centers of Greek and Phoenician culture. But it was also a land of conflict, caught between the ambitions of Rome and Carthage, its people divided by rival factions. The spark that ignited the First Punic War came in 264 BC, when the city of Messana, on the northeastern tip of Sicily, appealed to Rome for help. Messana was controlled by a group of mercenaries known as the Mamertines, who had seized the city years earlier, their rule marked by violence and chaos. Threatened by the nearby city of Syracuse, a Greek stronghold under the tyrant Hiero II, the Mamertines sought allies to protect their precarious hold. Some looked to Carthage, whose ships patrolled the Sicilian coast, their presence a constant reminder of Punic power. Others turned to Rome, whose reputation for resilience had spread beyond the peninsula, its legions a symbol of unyielding strength. The Roman Senate, gathered in their simple hall on the Capitoline Hill, debated the request, their voices low and measured, the scent of incense heavy in the air. To intervene in Sicily would mean war with Carthage, a prospect that filled even the boldest senators with unease. But ambition outweighed caution, and the Romans sent a small force across the Strait of Messina, their ships little more than converted fishing boats, their soldiers unaccustomed to the rolling deck beneath their feet. The consul Appius Claudius Caudex led the expedition, his crimson cloak a stark contrast to the muted blues of the sea, his face set with determination as he gazed toward the horizon. The crossing was short but perilous, the waves rocking the makeshift fleet, the soldiers clinging to the rails as the scent of salt filled their lungs. When they landed at Messana, the Romans were greeted with relief by the Mamertines, who saw in them a chance for survival. But the arrival of Roman troops drew the ire of Carthage, whose ships soon appeared off the coast, their sails an ominous sight against the dawn sky, their intentions clear. The First Punic War had begun, a conflict that would last 23 years and reshape the Mediterranean world. The early battles were fought on land, where the Romans held the advantage, their legions driving back the Carthaginian garrisons in Sicily, with the same dogged determination that had conquered Italy. At the Battle of Agrigentum in 261 BC, the Romans faced a Carthaginian army led by Hanno, a seasoned general whose forces outnumbered their own. The battle took place on a sunlit plain, the air thick with the scent of dust and sweat, the distant mountains a hazy silhouette against the sky. The Romans, their shields locked in a tight formation, advanced slowly, their spears lowered, their voices raised in a steady chant to Mars. The Carthaginians, their ranks bolstered by mercenaries from Numidia and Gaul, fought with skill, their cavalry charging with a thunderous roar. But the Romans held firm, their discipline a quiet, unyielding force. When the day ended, the field was littered with the fallen, but the Romans stood victorious, the city of Agrigentum theirs, its grain stores a vital resource for the war to come. Yet the Romans soon realized that to defeat Carthage, they could not rely on land battles alone. The Punic navy dominated the sea, cutting off Roman supply lines, their ships blockading the Sicilian coast with an iron grip. If Rome was to win, it would need to become a naval power, a challenge that seemed insurmountable for a people who had never built a fleet. In 260 BC, the Romans captured a Carthaginian quinquereme, a 5-rowed warship, that had run aground on the Italian coast, its hull battered by the waves, its crew scattered. The Romans, ever practical, studied the ship with care, their engineers marveling at its design, their hands tracing the smooth cedar planks, the intricate rigging, the bronze ram at the prow. Within months they had built a fleet of their own, 100 ships constructed in the shipyards of Ostia, their masts rising like a forest along the Tiber, the scent of sawdust and tar heavy in the air. The Romans, however, were not natural sailors, and their early voyages were marked by disaster. A storm off the coast of Sicily sank dozens of ships, the waves swallowing them whole, the cries of the drowning lost in the roar of the wind. But the Romans, as always, refused to yield. They devised a new weapon, the corvus, a boarding bridge with a heavy spike at the end designed to turn naval battles into land battles at sea. The corvus would drop onto an enemy ship, its spike embedding in the deck, allowing Roman soldiers to cross over and fight hand to hand, their swords flashing in the sunlight, their shields a wall of bronze. At the Battle of Mylae in 260 BC, the Roman fleet, led by the consul Gaius Duilius, met the Carthaginians off the northern coast of Sicily, the sea a deep blue, beneath a sky dotted with clouds. The Carthaginians, confident in their naval superiority, laughed at the Roman ships, their makeshift construction a stark contrast to the sleek Punic triremes. But the corvus turned the tide, the Romans boarding the enemy ships with a quiet ferocity, their victory a testament to their ingenuity and resolve. The Battle of Mylae was a turning point, the first Roman naval victory, a sign that the Republic could challenge Carthage on its own terms. In Rome, the citizens celebrated quietly, their voices soft as they gathered in the forum, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. A column was erected in honor of Gaius Duilius, its stone carved with images of ships and the corvus, a symbol of Rome's new power. The scent of roasted meat filled the air, mingling with the murmur of prayers to Neptune, the god of the sea, whose favor the Romans now sought. As the stars emerged in the night sky, the Romans looked across the water, their hearts filled with a quiet determination, their minds already turning to the battles that lay ahead. The First Punic War had begun, and though the road would be long, Rome was ready to face the challenge, its sails catching the wind, its destiny written in the waves. Imagine the rugged peaks of the Alps in the late autumn of 218 BC, where the air is crisp with the scent of pine and the first whispers of winter snow. The sun hangs low in the sky, casting a pale light over jagged cliffs and narrow mountain passes, its rays glinting off the icy streams that trickle down the slopes. Far below, the lands of Italy stretch out like a patchwork quilt, the fields of the Po Valley golden in the fading light, the Tiber River a distant shimmer on the horizon. Here, in this unforgiving wilderness, a Carthaginian general named Hannibal Barca leads his army on a journey that will echo through the ages, his determination a quiet flame that burns against the cold. The Second Punic War has begun, and Hannibal, a man whose name will become a legend, is about to challenge Rome in a way it has never been challenged before. The First Punic War had ended in 241 BC with a Roman victory, a hard-fought triumph that left Carthage humbled but not broken. The Romans had claimed Sicily, their first overseas province, and imposed a heavy tribute on Carthage, stripping the city of its naval dominance and much of its wealth. But Carthage was a phoenix, its spirit unquenched, its people driven by a quiet resolve to reclaim their place in the Mediterranean. In the years that followed, the Barcid family rose to prominence, their ambition a beacon for a city eager for redemption. Hamilcar Barca, Hannibal's father, had taken Carthage's armies to Spain, carving out a new empire in the silver-rich lands of the Iberian Peninsula. There, in the shadow of the Pyrenees, he raised his son Hannibal, teaching him the art of war, the rhythm of the sea, and the burning desire to avenge Carthage's defeat. Hannibal was only 26 years old when he took command of the Carthaginian forces in Spain, his father and brother-in-law having died in battle, their legacy now his to carry. He was a man of striking presence, his dark eyes sharp with intelligence, his voice calm but commanding, his every movement marked by a quiet confidence. The soldiers who followed him, Numidians on swift horses, Iberians with their curved swords, Gauls with their wild courage, saw in him a leader who could challenge the might of Rome. In 219 BC, Hannibal laid siege to Saguntum, a Spanish city allied with Rome, its walls crumbling under the relentless assault of his siege engines, the air thick with the scent of smoke and dust. The fall of Saguntum was a deliberate provocation. a declaration of war that Rome could not ignore. The Second Punic War had begun, and Hannibal was ready to bring the fight to Rome's doorstep. Rather than wait for the Romans to come to him, Hannibal chose a daring path, one that no army had ever taken before. He would march his forces overland, through the Pyrenees, across the Rhone River, and over the Alps, a journey of nearly 1,500 miles, to strike at the heart of Italy. In the spring of 218 BC, Hannibal set out from New Carthage, a bustling port on the Spanish coast, his army a vast and diverse host. There were 50,000 infantry, 9,000 cavalry, and 37 war elephants, their trunks swaying as they lumbered forward, their presence a symbol of Carthage's might. The soldiers marched under a sky streaked with clouds, the scent of sage and wildflowers trailing in their wake, their voices a soft murmur in a dozen languages: Punic, Numidian, Iberian, Celtic. The journey was grueling, the terrain unforgiving, the challenges endless. The Pyrenees, with their steep slopes and rocky paths, tested the army's resolve, the soldiers slipping on loose stones, their breath visible in the chilly air. At the Rhone River, Hannibal's engineers built rafts to ferry the elephants across, the massive beasts trumpeting in protest as the water lapped at their flanks, the current tugging at the ropes that held them steady. The Gauls, whose lands bordered the river, watched with a mix of awe and fear, their villages dotting the landscape, their warriors armed with spears and shields, their loyalty uncertain. Some joined Hannibal, drawn by the promise of plunder, while others resisted, their arrows raining down on the Carthaginians as they crossed the river, the water stained with blood. But it was the Alps that posed the greatest challenge, a towering barrier of snow and stone that seemed to defy the very idea of passage. The army climbed higher and higher, the air thinning with each step, the cold biting at their fingers and toes. The elephants, their hides dusted with frost, struggled up the narrow paths, their massive feet dislodging boulders that tumbled into the abyss below, the sound a distant rumble in the stillness. The soldiers wrapped themselves in cloaks of wool and leather, their faces etched with exhaustion, their voices hushed as they spoke of home, of the sunlit hills of Spain, the warm sands of Carthage, the olive groves of Numidia. Hannibal rode among them, his horse sure-footed on the icy slopes, his words a quiet encouragement, his presence a reminder of the purpose that drove them forward. After 15 days of hardship, the army emerged from the Alps, their numbers reduced to 26,000 men, their bodies weary but their spirits unbroken. They descended into the Po Valley, a fertile plain in northern Italy, its fields golden with the last of the harvest, its rivers winding like silver threads through the landscape. The local Gallic tribes, who had long chafed under Roman rule, welcomed Hannibal as a liberator, their warriors joining his ranks, their villages offering grain and shelter. The Romans, caught off guard by Hannibal's audacious march, scrambled to respond, their legions marching north under the consul Publius Cornelius Scipio, their banners fluttering in the wind, the scent of dust and leather trailing in their wake. The first clashes came at the Tixinus and Trebia rivers, small but bloody battles that showcased Hannibal's tactical genius. At the Battle of the Trebia in December 218 BC, Hannibal lured the Romans into a trap, his forces hiding in the reeds along the riverbank, the morning mist cloaking their movements. The Romans, their armor heavy with frost, crossed the icy waters, their teeth chattering as they formed their lines, their voices raised in a chant to Mars. But Hannibal's cavalry, led by his Numidian horsemen, struck from the flanks, their horses swift and silent, their spears finding their marks with deadly precision. The Romans, caught in a vice, fought with desperate courage, but the day ended in a crushing defeat, their survivors fleeing into the winter night, the stars above cold and unyielding. Hannibal's greatest triumph, however, came 2 years later, in the summer of 216 BC, at the Battle of Cannae, a small town in southern Italy. The Romans, determined to crush the Carthaginian threat, assembled their largest army yet, 80,000 men under the consuls Lucius Aemilius Paulus and Gaius Terentius Varro. The plain of Cannae, bordered by the Ofanto River, stretched out under a blazing sun, the air thick with the scent of dust and wild grass, the distant hills a hazy silhouette against the sky. Hannibal, with 50,000 men, arrayed his forces in a crescent formation, his weaker infantry at the center, his elite cavalry on the wings, their horses stamping the ground, their riders' faces painted with determination. The Romans, confident in their numbers, charged headlong into the center, their shields locked, their swords flashing in the sunlight, their voices a roar of defiance. But Hannibal's center slowly gave ground, drawing the Romans deeper into the trap, their formation stretching thin as they pressed forward. Then, with a signal as soft as a whisper, Hannibal's cavalry struck, the Numidians and Gauls sweeping around the Roman flanks, their hooves thundering across the plain, their spears lowered for the kill. The Romans, surrounded on all sides, found themselves in a deadly embrace, their lines collapsing into chaos, their cries of panic drowned out by the clash of metal and the snorting of horses. By the end of the day, the field was a scene of devastation. 50,000 Romans lay dead, their bodies scattered across the blood-soaked earth, the river running red under a sky streaked with amber and rose. Hannibal's victory at Cannae was a masterpiece of strategy, a battle that would be studied for centuries. Its lessons whispered in the halls of military academies across the world. Yet as the stars emerged in the night sky, their light cold and distant, Hannibal stood among the fallen, his face etched with a quiet sorrow. He had struck a blow that shook Rome to its core, but he knew the war was far from over. The Romans, with their unyielding resolve, would not surrender so easily. Their city a fortress of determination, its 7 hills a symbol of a people who would fight to the last. As the wind carried the scent of smoke and blood across the plain, Hannibal turned his gaze toward Rome, his heart heavy with the weight of the battles yet to come, his dreams of victory a flickering flame in the darkness. Envision the rolling plains of southern Italy in the aftermath of the Battle of Cannae, where the sun rises slowly over a landscape scarred by war. The year is 216 BC, and the Roman Republic, reeling from the catastrophic defeat inflicted by Hannibal Barca, stands on the brink of collapse. The air carries the faint scent of smoke and blood, mingling with the earthy aroma of trampled grass, as the Ofanto River flows quietly nearby, its waters stained red from the battle that claimed 50,000 Roman lives. In the distance, the 7 hills of Rome seem a world away, their silhouette a faint memory for the survivors who now gather their wounded, their faces etched with exhaustion and grief. Yet beneath the weight of this loss, a quiet resolve begins to stir within the Roman people, a resilience that has defined them since the days of their earliest struggles, a determination that will carry them through the darkest hours of the Second Punic War. The news of Cannae reached Rome like a thunderclap, its echoes reverberating through the Forum, where citizens gathered in hushed silence, their voices soft with fear and disbelief. The city once filled with the clamor of merchants and the laughter of children now felt the weight of an uncertain future, the air thick with the scent of incense as priests offered prayers to Jupiter, their chants rising into the evening sky. The Senate convened on the Capitoline Hill, their faces grave, their togas draped over their shoulders like a shroud, as they debated the Republic's next move. Some called for surrender, their voices trembling with the memory of Hannibal's victory, but others, led by the steadfast Senator Quintus Fabius Maximus, urged caution and perseverance. Fabius, known as Cunctator, the delayer, proposed a strategy of attrition, avoiding direct confrontation with Hannibal while harassing his forces, cutting off his supplies, and wearing him down over time. This Fabian strategy, as it came to be known, was a testament to Rome's ability to adapt, a quiet refusal to let despair dictate their fate. Fabius led small detachments of soldiers into the countryside, their movements swift and silent, their campfires flickering like stars in the night as they shadowed Hannibal's army. They burned fields that might feed the Carthaginians, ambushed their foraging parties, and struck at their supply lines, their attacks as fleeting as the wind that rustled through the olive groves. Hannibal, despite his brilliance, found himself frustrated, his army bogged down in southern Italy, unable to force a decisive battle or capture Rome itself. The Romans, their resolve hardened by loss, refused to meet him on his terms, their legions regrouping in the north, their citizen soldiers returning to the field of Mars to train anew, the scent of dust and leather a reminder of their duty. Meanwhile, Hannibal's position grew increasingly precarious, his army isolated in enemy territory, his allies among the Italian tribes wavering in their loyalty. The Gauls of the Po Valley, who had joined him after his march across the Alps, began to drift away, their warriors returning to their villages, their promises of support fading like the morning mist. The cities of southern Italy, Capua, Tarentum, Syracuse, had defected to Hannibal after Cannae their gates opened in the hope of freedom from Roman rule. But they offered little in the way of resources. Their grain stores depleted their people weary of war. Hannibal, his forces stretched thin, moved from city to city, his elephants, a symbol of Carthage's might, dwindling in number, their massive forms a rare sight on the battlefield, their trumpeting a distant memory in the Italian countryside. As the years passed, Rome's resilience began to turn the tide, their strategy of attrition slowly draining Hannibal's strength. The Republic called upon its vast manpower reserves, drawing soldiers from every corner of Italy, their banners fluttering in the wind as they marched to join the fight. Young men, barely old enough to hold a spear, stood alongside veterans, their faces set with determination, their voices low as they spoke of the fathers and brothers lost at Cannae. In the forum, women wove cloth for the soldiers' tunics, their hands steady despite the ache in their hearts, while priests sacrificed bulls to Mars, the blood staining the stone altar, their prayers a soft plea for victory. The Romans, united by their shared loss, found strength in their community, their city a fortress of resolve, its 7 hills a symbol of a people who would not break. Amid this struggle, a new leader emerged, a young Roman noble named Publius Cornelius Scipio, later known as Scipio Africanus, whose brilliance would rival even Hannibal's. Scipio was only 25 years old in 211 BC, when he was given command of the Roman forces in Spain, his youth belied by a mind as sharp as a gladius, his voice calm but commanding as he rallied his troops. Spain had become a key battleground, a land where Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal Barca, held sway, his forces mining silver to fund Carthage's war efforts, the scent of ore and sweat heavy in the air. Scipio landed at the port of Tarraco, his ships bobbing gently on the waves, the Mediterranean sun casting a warm glow on his crimson cloak. He moved swiftly, capturing the Carthaginian stronghold of New Carthage in 209 BC, his soldiers scaling the walls under the cover of night, the city's defenses crumbling as the Romans poured through the gates their victory, a quiet triumph in the moonlight. Scipio's campaigns in Spain were marked by a blend of daring and diplomacy, his strategies as fluid as the rivers that wound through the Iberian landscape. He defeated Hasdrubal at the Battle of Baecula in 208 BC, his legions outmaneuvering the Carthaginians on a sunlit plain, the air thick with the scent of dust and wild thyme, the clash of metal a distant echo in the hills. Rather than enslave the defeated Iberians, Scipio offered them alliance, their chiefs swearing loyalty in ceremonies lit by torchlight, their voices soft with gratitude. By 206 BC, Scipio had driven the Carthaginians from Spain, his victories securing a vital source of silver and troops for Rome, his name whispered with awe in the forum, where citizens gathered to hear news of the war, their oil lamps flickering in the evening breeze. With Spain secured, Scipio turned his attention to Africa, proposing a bold plan to strike at Carthage itself, forcing Hannibal to abandon Italy and defend his homeland. In 204 BC, Scipio landed near Utica, his ships cutting through the waves, the scent of salt and seaweed a reminder of the sea that had once been Carthage's domain. The Romans allied with the Numidian king Massinissa, whose cavalry, swift and deadly, bolstered their ranks, their horses galloping across the plains, their riders' faces painted with determination. Scipio's forces burned Carthaginian camps, their flames lighting up the night, the crackle of fire a haunting echo of the wood-burning hearths back in Rome. Hannibal, recalled from Italy after 15 years of campaigning, arrived in Africa in 202 BC, his army weary but resolute, his elephants few but formidable, their trunks swaying as they marched toward the final confrontation. The Battle of Zama, fought in 202 BC on a dusty plain near Carthage, was the decisive moment of the Second Punic War, a clash that would determine the fate of two empires. Scipio and Hannibal met before the battle, their voices low and respectful, the air heavy with the weight of history. The two generals, each a master of war, stood under a sky streaked with amber, the scent of wild grass and leather mingling with the tension of the moment. When the fighting began, the Romans formed their lines, their shields locked, their spears lowered, while Hannibal's elephants charged, their massive forms shaking the earth, their trumpeting a roar that sent shivers through the ranks. But Scipio had prepared for this, his soldiers opening lanes in their formation, the elephants stampeding through harmlessly, their momentum carrying them away from the fight. The Roman cavalry, led by Massinissa, struck at the Carthaginian flanks, their horses swift and silent, their spears finding their marks with deadly precision. The infantry clashed in the center, the Romans pushing forward with a quiet ferocity, their voices a steady chant to Mars, the god who had watched over them through years of hardship. Hannibal's forces, exhausted from years of war, fought with desperate courage, but the tide turned against them, their lines breaking under the Roman assault, their survivors fleeing into the dust and chaos. By the end of the day, the field was littered with the fallen, the Carthaginian army shattered, Hannibal himself escaping into the night, his dreams of victory a fading ember in the darkness. The Battle of Zama marked the end of the Second Punic War, a triumph that secured Rome's dominance in the Western Mediterranean, its name now a symbol of resilience and power. Carthage was forced to surrender, its navy reduced to a shadow of its former glory, its territories stripped away, its people humbled but not destroyed. In Rome, the citizens celebrated quietly, their voices soft as they gathered in the forum, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. Scipio, hailed as Africanus, returned as a hero, his triumph a parade of captured banners and spoils, the scent of incense and roasted meat filling the air as the Romans gave thanks to their gods. As the stars emerged in the night sky, the seven hills stood as silent witnesses to Rome's victory, a city that had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger. Its destiny now written in the annals of history, its journey far from over. Picture the shimmering cities of the eastern Mediterranean in the early 2nd century BC, where the sun rises over a world of marble and gold, its light casting a warm glow on grand temples and bustling marketplaces. The year is 200 BC, and the Roman Republic, having emerged victorious from the Second Punic War, now turns its gaze eastward, toward a region far more affluent, urban, and culturally sophisticated than the rugged lands of Italy. This is the Hellenistic world, a tapestry of kingdoms born from the ashes of Alexander the Great's empire, their streets alive with the scent of myrrh and the murmur of a dozen languages: Greek, Persian, Egyptian, Aramaic. From the Nile Delta to the mountains of Asia Minor, these lands pulse with a vibrancy that Rome, with its simple brick buildings and farmer soldiers, can scarcely comprehend. The air thick with the promise of knowledge, art, and power. Alexander the Great had died in 323 BC at the age of 32, leaving behind an empire that stretched from Greece to India, its borders as vast as the ambitions that drove him. In the palace of Babylon, where the scent of incense hung heavy in the air, his generals, known as the Diadochi, or successors, gathered to divide his conquests, their voices low with rivalry, their hands tracing maps on papyrus as they carved up the world. Out of this division emerged 3 major kingdoms, each ruled by a dynasty founded by one of Alexander's companions, their capitals centers of learning and culture that rivaled anything the ancient world had seen. These were the Ptolemies in Egypt, the Seleucids in Syria and Persia, and the Antigonids in Macedon, their realms a blend of Greek and local traditions, their courts a stage for scholars, poets, and philosophers. In Egypt, the Ptolemies ruled from Alexandria, a city founded by Alexander himself, its streets laid out in a perfect grid. Its harbor a forest of masts where ships from India and Ethiopia docked with cargoes of spices and ivory. The great library of Alexandria stood as a beacon of knowledge, its shelves lined with scrolls of papyrus, their pages filled with the works of Homer, Plato, and Aristotle, the scent of ink and dust a constant companion to the scholars who walked its halls. The Pharos Lighthouse, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, rose above the harbor, its beacon fire lighting the night, guiding sailors home with a glow as steady as the stars. The Ptolemies, descendants of Ptolemy I from Soter, embraced Egyptian traditions, presenting themselves as pharaohs to their subjects, their images carved into temple walls, their voices echoing in rituals to Osiris and Isis, the gods of the Nile. Cleopatra, who would later play a pivotal role in Rome's history, was a distant descendant of this dynasty, her ancestors ruling a land where Greek and Egyptian cultures intertwined like the threads of a tapestry. In the markets of Alexandria, a Greek merchant might barter for a jar of Nubian gold, his voice mingling with that of an Egyptian priest chanting hymns to Ra, the sun god, as the scent of lotus flowers drifted on the breeze. The city's Moussaillon, a center of learning attached to the great library, buzzed with the murmur of debate, where mathematicians like Euclid and astronomers like Aristarchus pondered the mysteries of the universe, their calculations scratched into wax tablets under the flicker of oil lamps. To the Romans, Alexandria was a city of wonders, its wealth and sophistication a stark contrast to the muddy streets of their own capital, its people a mystery wrapped in silk and gold. To the north and east, the Seleucid Empire sprawled across a vast expanse, from the shores of Asia Minor to the borders of India, its capital at Antioch, a jewel on the Orontes River. The Seleucids, founded by Seleucus I Nicator, ruled a diverse realm, their cities, Antioch, Seleucia, Apamea, centers of trade and culture, their streets lined with colonnades of white marble, their markets filled with the scent of saffron and cedarwood. In Antioch, a Greek theater carved into a hillside echoed with the verses of poets, while Persian magi offered prayers to Ahura Mazda, their voices rising above the hum of the city. These Seleucid kings, adorned in purple robes and diadems, presided over a court where Greek philosophers mingled with Babylonian astronomers, their discussions illuminated by the glow of bronze lamps, the air heavy with the weight of centuries. The Seleucids maintained a powerful army, their phalanxes armed with long sarissas, 18-foot spears that gleamed in the sunlight. Their war elephants a fearsome sight on the battlefield, their trunks swaying as they marched. Yet, their empire was a fragile mosaic, its provinces often restless, their governors dreaming of independence. In the Far East, the Parthians began to encroach, their horse archers a constant threat, their arrows whistling through the air like a deadly wind. The Seleucids, despite their wealth and might, struggled to hold their vast domain together, their cities a glittering facade over a foundation of unrest, their rulers balancing Greek ambition with the traditions of the lands they governed. In Greece itself, the Antigonid dynasty ruled Macedon, the homeland of Alexander, its capital at Pella, a city of red-tiled roofs and limestone walls, its fields rich with barley and vines. The Antigonids, descendants of Antigonus I Monophthalmus, were warriors at heart, their kings leading armies into battle, their shields emblazoned with the sunburst of Macedon, their voices raised in war cries that echoed through the mountains. Macedon was a land of rugged beauty, its peaks dusted with snow, its valleys alive with the bleating of sheep, the air carrying the scent of pine and wildflowers. The Macedonian phalanx, a formation of tightly packed soldiers with long spears, was the backbone of their army, its discipline a legacy of Philip II, Alexander's father, whose reforms had made Macedon a power to be feared. But Greece was more than Macedon. It was a patchwork of city-states, each fiercely independent, their histories written in the marble of their temples and the bronze of their statues. Athens, the birthplace of democracy, still shone with the glory of its past, its Acropolis crowned by the Parthenon, its white columns glowing in the moonlight, its agora alive with the murmur of philosophers debating the nature of the good life. Sparta, though diminished, retained its warrior ethos, its young men training in the agoge, their bodies hardened by years of discipline, their voices chanting songs of war as they marched under the stars. Corinth, a bustling port, thrived on trade, its isthmus a bridge between east and west, its markets filled with the scent of olives and wine, its ships carrying goods to every corner of the Mediterranean. The Hellenistic world was a place of extraordinary achievement, its culture a fusion of Greek and Eastern traditions that produced wonders in art, science, and literature. Sculptors like Lysippos crafted statues of gods and heroes, their bronze forms capturing the grace of a runner mid-stride, the power of a warrior in battle, the serenity of a goddess at rest. Mathematicians like Archimedes working in Syracuse devised machines that could lift ships from the water, their calculations etched into sand under the flicker of torchlight, their discoveries a quiet marvel in a noisy world. Poets like Theocritus wrote idyls of shepherds and nymphs, their verses a soft melody that echoed through the courts of Alexandria and Antioch, the scent of jasmine and rose a backdrop to their words. To the Romans, this world was both alien and alluring, its sophistication a challenge to their own rugged simplicity, its wealth a prize worth pursuing. The Greeks, with their refined manners and erudite speech, looked upon the Romans as uncouth barbarians, their togas plain compared to the silks of the East, their language harsh against the melody of Greek. A Roman envoy might visit Alexandria, his sandals dusty from the journey, his eyes wide with wonder as he gazed at the Pharos lighthouse, its beacon a star on the horizon. In the great library, he might unroll a scroll of Herodotus, his fingers trembling as he read tales of the Persian wars, the scent of papyrus and ink, a reminder of a world far older and wiser than his own. But beneath the cultural divide lay a growing tension, for the Hellenistic kingdoms, despite their splendor, were weakened by internal strife and external threats. The Ptolemies and Seleucids clashed over the fertile lands of Coel Syria, their armies meeting in battles that drained their treasuries, their cities filled with the murmur of discontent. The Antigonids faced rebellion in Greece, where city-states like Athens and Sparta chafed under Macedonian rule, their citizens dreaming of the freedoms they had known in centuries past. Into this fractured world, Rome would soon arrive, its legions a storm on the horizon, its ambition a quiet force that would reshape the eastern Mediterranean, its name a whisper that would soon become a roar. As the sun set over Alexandria, casting a golden glow across the harbor, the Hellenistic world continued its dance of culture and power, its people unaware of the shadow that loomed in the west. In the great library, a scholar might sit by an oil lamp, his quill scratching across papyrus, the scent of ink and parchment a comfort in the night. In Antioch, a merchant might count his coins, the clink of silver a soft melody, while in Pella, a Macedonian soldier might polish his spear, the starlight glinting off its tip. The Hellenistic world, for all its brilliance, stood at a crossroads, its future uncertain, its destiny intertwined with that of a city on the Tiber, a city whose quiet resilience would soon change the course of history. Envision the eastern Mediterranean in the early 2nd century BC, where the dawn light bathes the marble cities of the Hellenistic world in a soft golden glow. The year is 197 BC, and the Roman Republic, having secured its dominance in the western Mediterranean after the defeat of Carthage, now turns its gaze eastward, toward the affluent and cultured lands of Greece, Asia Minor, and Egypt. The air carries the scent of olive blossoms and sea salt, mingling with the distant hum of life in cities like Athens, Antioch, and Alexandria, where scholars debate in grand libraries and merchants barter in bustling markets. Yet, beneath this veneer of sophistication, a new power looms on the horizon: Rome, a city of farmer soldiers whose quiet resilience and disciplined legions are about to reshape the Hellenistic world. Their arrival as sudden and unstoppable as a summer storm. The Romans, fresh from their victory in the Second Punic War, were a people transformed, their confidence bolstered by the defeat of Hannibal, their military honed into a formidable machine. The legions, once a citizen militia of farmers wielding spears, had evolved into a semi-professional force. Their ranks filled with veterans who had fought in Sicily, Spain, and Africa, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of Rome, their swords sharp with the memory of Zama. In the forum, the scent of incense drifted through the air as priests offered prayers to Mars, their voices a soft chant beneath the murmur of the crowd, while senators in white togas debated the Republic's next move, their eyes fixed on the wealth and prestige of the East. The Hellenistic kingdoms, weakened by internal rivalries and external threats, seemed ripe for conquest, their glittering cities a prize that Rome could no longer ignore. Rome's first major foray into the East came with the Second Macedonian War, which began in 200 BC, a conflict sparked by the ambitions of Philip V of Macedon, the ruler of the Antigonid dynasty. Philip, a king with a warrior's heart, had allied with Carthage during the Second Punic War, his ships harassing Roman supply lines, his actions a quiet defiance of the Republic's growing power. After Hannibal's defeat, Rome sought to settle the score, their legions marching into Greece under the command of Titus Quinctius Flamininus, a young general whose voice was calm but resolute, his crimson cloak a stark contrast to the muted greens of the Thessalian plains. The Macedonian phalanx, with its long sarissas and disciplined ranks, was a fearsome sight, its soldiers moving as one, their spears gleaming in the sunlight, the scent of dust and sweat heavy in the air. The decisive battle came in 197 BC at Cynocephalae, a hilly region in Thessaly, where the morning mist clung to the ground like a soft veil, the air thick with the scent of wild thyme and dew. Philip's forces, numbering 25,000, faced a Roman army of equal size, their legions arrayed in flexible maniples, their shields locked, their swords at the ready. The Macedonian phalanx, formidable on flat terrain, struggled on the uneven slopes, its formation breaking as the Romans maneuvered with a quiet precision, their centurions' voices low and steady as they directed the advance. The legions struck at the gaps in the phalanx, their swords flashing in the sunlight, their shields a wall of bronze as they pushed forward, the clash of metal echoing through the hills. By the end of the day, Philip's army was shattered. 8,000 of his men lay dead, the rest fleeing into the countryside, their king retreating to Pella, his dreams of empire a fading whisper in the wind. At the Isthmian Games in 196 BC, Flamininus stood before a crowd of Greeks, his voice carrying over the murmur of the assembled city-states, the scent of olive oil and roasted meat drifting through the air. He declared the freedom of the Greeks, a proclamation that Rome would not rule them directly, but rather act as a protector, their cities allowed to govern themselves under the Republic's watchful eye. The Greeks cheered, their voices rising like a wave, their relief palpable, but beneath the celebration lay a quiet unease, for Rome's presence in the East was a shadow that would not fade. The Hellenistic world, with its proud traditions and ancient cities, had felt the first tremors of Roman power, their marble temples and golden statues now under the gaze of a people they had once dismissed as barbarians. Rome's expansion continued with the Syrian War, fought against the Seleucid Empire from 192 to 188 BC, a conflict that pitted the Republic against Antiochus III, a king whose realm stretched from Asia Minor to the borders of India. Antiochus, known as the Great, had sought to reclaim the lands lost to the Ptolemies, his armies marching through Coele, Syria, their war elephants a fearsome sight, their trunks swaying as they trumpeted in the desert heat. But his ambitions brought him into conflict with Rome, whose allies in Greece and Asia Minor appealed for aid, their voices a soft plea in the face of Seleucid might. The Romans responded with a force led by Lucius Cornelius Scipio, the brother of Scipio Africanus and Publius Cornelius Scipio. Nasica, their legions landing on the shores of Asia Minor, the scent of salt and cedarwood, a reminder of the sea that separated them from home. The decisive battle came in 190 BC at Magnesia, near the city of Sardis, where the sun rose over a plain bordered by the Hermus River, its waters shimmering in the morning light. Antiochus fielded a massive army, 70,000 men, including phalanxes, cavalry, and war elephants. His forces arrayed in a glittering line, their armor reflecting the sun, the scent of incense and leather heavy in the air. The Romans, with 30,000 men, moved with a quiet efficiency, their legions supported by allies from Pergamon and Rhodes, their ships patrolling the nearby coast, their sails catching the wind like the wings of a great bird. The battle was fierce, the Seleucid elephants charging with a thunderous roar, their massive forms shaking the earth, but the Romans held firm, their maniples adapting to the terrain, their swords finding their marks with deadly precision. Antiochus' forces broke under the pressure, their survivors fleeing into the hills, their king retreating to Antioch, his empire humbled by the Republic's might. The Treaty of Apamea in 188 BC marked the end of the Syrian War, its terms a quiet testament to Rome's growing dominance. The Seleucids were forced to cede Asia Minor to Roman allies, their treasury drained by a heavy indemnity. Their war elephants surrendered, their trunks lowered in submission as they were led away. Rome did not annex the Seleucid lands directly, but instead established a network of client states, Pergamon, Rhodes, and others, whose loyalty ensured the Republic's influence in the region, their cities now under the shadow of Roman power. The Hellenistic kings, once proud rulers of vast empires, found themselves diminished, their courts filled with the murmur of discontent, their people gazing westward with a mix of fear and fascination. The Ptolemies in Egypt, watching from the safety of Alexandria, felt the ripples of Rome's expansion, their city a sanctuary of culture amidst the shifting tides of power. The great library continued its work, its scholars unrolling scrolls of papyrus under the flicker of oil lamps, the scent of ink and dust a comfort in uncertain times. But the Ptolemies, weakened by internal strife, knew their days of independence were numbered, their pharaohs now beholden to Roman favor, their gold and grain a tribute to a city on the Tiber. The Hellenistic world with its glittering cities and ancient traditions had been shaken to its core, its people forced to reckon with a new reality. A reality where Rome with its legions and its quiet resolve was the rising star, its light casting a long shadow over the east. The Greeks who had once looked upon the Romans as uncouth brutes, now spoke of them in hushed tones, their voices a mix of awe and resentment. In Athens, a philosopher might sit in the agora, his cloak draped over his shoulders, as he debated the virtues of Roman discipline, the scent of olive oil and bread drifting through the air. In Corinth, a merchant might count his coins, the clink of silver a soft melody, as he whispered of Roman ships docking at the isthmus, their holds filled with spoils from the east. The Hellenistic world, for all its brilliance, had felt the weight of Roman conquest, its marble temples and golden statues now a backdrop to the Republic's ambition, its future intertwined with that of a city whose name was becoming a legend in its own right. As the sun set over the eastern Mediterranean, casting a warm glow across the sea, the Romans returned to their camps, their campfires flickering like stars in the night, the scent of roasting meat and pine a comfort to weary soldiers. They spoke in hushed tones of the battles they had fought, of the cities they had seen, and of the future that lay ahead. The 7 hills of Rome, far to the west, stood as a symbol of their strength, a city that had risen from humble beginnings to challenge the greatest kingdoms of the world. The Hellenistic world, with its proud traditions and ancient wisdom, had felt the first waves of Roman power, its people now part of a new chapter in history, their voices a soft echo in a world that was changing forever. Imagine the bustling streets of Rome in the early 2nd century BC, where the sun rises over the 7 hills, casting a warm glow on a city transformed by victory. The year is 187 BC, and the Roman Republic, having triumphed over the Hellenistic kingdoms of the East, now finds itself awash in riches on a scale its people could scarcely have dreamed of a century before. The Forum, once a simple marketplace of farmers and merchants, is alive with the scent of exotic spices and the gleam of gold, its cobblestones worn smooth by the sandals of citizens who marvel at the spoils of conquest. The Tiber River winding gently through the city reflects the dawn light, its waters carrying ships laden with treasures from distant lands, silver from Asia Minor, marble from Greece, silks from the Seleucid Empire, each a testament to Rome's newfound power, each a whisper of the changes that are reshaping the Republic from within. The conquests of the Hellenistic world had brought Rome wealth beyond imagination, a torrent of riches that flowed into the city like the Tiber after a spring rain. The Battle of Magnesia in 190 BC, which humbled the Seleucid Empire, had yielded vast indemnities, chests of silver coins stamped with the image of Antiochus III, their weight a burden that Roman soldiers carried with quiet pride. The cities of Greece, Macedon, Athens, Corinth, offered up their treasures as tribute. Their golden statues of gods and heroes melted down to fill Roman coffers, their marble sculptures adorning the villas of the elite, their beauty a stark contrast to the simple brick homes of the plebeians. From Egypt, the Ptolemies sent grain and gold, their gifts a silent acknowledgement of Rome's dominance, the scent of papyrus and lotus flowers clinging to the scrolls that accompanied their tribute. In the Forum, the spoils were paraded in triumphs, grand processions that wound through the city under the watchful gaze of the Seven Hills. A victorious general, his face painted red in honor of Jupiter, rode in a golden chariot, his crimson cloak billowing in the breeze, the scent of incense and roasted meat heavy in the air. Behind him marched his legions, their armor polished to a shine, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of Rome, their voices a soft chant of victory. Prisoners from the east, Seleucid soldiers, Macedonian nobles, Greek philosophers, walked in chains, their heads bowed, their voices silenced by the weight of defeat. Carts laden with spoils followed, their wheels creaking under the weight of silver ingots, bronze statues and jeweled crowns, the crowd murmuring in awe as the treasures passed by, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. The wealth of the East did not merely fill Rome's coffers. It transformed its culture, a quiet wave of change that rippled through the city like the Tiber's gentle current. The Romans, once a people of rugged simplicity, who prided themselves on their farmer-soldier ethos, now found themselves captivated by the sophistication of the Hellenistic world. Greek culture, with its art, literature, and philosophy, became the standard of refinement, its influence a soft melody that echoed through the streets of Rome. In the villas of the patricians, marble statues of Apollo and Athena stood in courtyards, their serene faces a contrast to the rough-hewn busts of Roman ancestors, their beauty a whisper of a world beyond the Tiber. Roman nobles began to speak Greek, their voices halting at first, then growing more confident as they recited lines from Homer's Iliad or Plato's Republic. The scent of ink and papyrus, a reminder of the scrolls they studied by lamplight. Greek tutors were brought to Rome, their presence a status symbol among the elite, their lessons a bridge to a culture that seemed as dazzling as the stars above the Palatine Hill. A young patrician might sit in his father's study, his toga draped over his shoulders, as his tutor unrolled a scroll of Euripides, the words of tragedy filling the room, the oil lamp flickering in the evening breeze. Outside, the city hummed with life, the scent of bread baking in clay ovens mingling with the murmur of Greek phrases spoken by merchants in the Forum, their voices a soft echo of Alexandria and Athens. The architecture of Rome began to change, its simple brick buildings giving way to structures inspired by the Hellenistic East. Temples to Jupiter and Mars, once modest in design, were rebuilt with marble columns in the Corinthian style, their white stone glowing in the sunlight, their pediments carved with scenes of gods and heroes. The Basilica Aemilia constructed in the Forum boasted a roof of imported cedar, its beams fragrant with the scent of the East. Its interior a space where magistrates sat beneath frescoes painted in the Greek style, their colors as vibrant as the silks that now adorned Roman matrons. In the homes of the wealthy mosaics depicting scenes from Greek mythology, Orpheus charming the beasts Persephone in the underworld, covered the floors their tiles cool beneath bare feet, their stories a quiet reminder of the culture that Rome had come to admire. But the spoils of conquest were not shared equally, and beneath the surface of Rome's newfound splendor lay a growing divide, a quiet tension that threatened to unravel the fabric of the Republic. The patricians, whose families had long dominated the Senate, amassed vast fortunes, their villas on the Palatine Hill expanding with each new triumph, their courtyards filled with the scent of roses and the laughter of guests at lavish banquets. A senator might recline on a couch inlaid with ivory, sipping wine from a silver cup, as slaves from the east served dishes of peacock and dormice, their flavors exotic, their preparation a testament to the wealth that flowed from Greece and Asia Minor. His wife, draped in silks dyed purple with Tyrian dye, might wear a necklace of pearls from the Red Sea, her hair styled in the intricate curls of a Hellenistic queen, her beauty a reflection of Rome's conquests. The plebeians, however, saw little of this wealth, their lives unchanged by the treasures that filled the city. A farmer on the Aventine Hill might rise at dawn, his hands calloused from the plow. As he worked his small plot of land, the scent of earth and sweat a constant companion. His crops, wheat, barley, olives, fed the city, but the grain from Egypt, brought as tribute by the Ptolemies, flooded the market, driving down prices and threatening his livelihood. His children, their laughter soft in the morning light, might never see the inside of a patrician villa, their lives confined to the muddy streets of their neighborhood, their dreams as distant as the lands from which Rome's wealth came. This economic divide fueled resentment, a quiet bitterness that simmered among the common people, their voices a murmur of discontent in the forum. The influx of slaves from the east, captured soldiers, displaced civilians, entire families sold into bondage, further strained the Republic's social fabric. These slaves worked the vast estates of the patricians, known as latifundia, their labor replacing that of free Roman farmers, who found themselves unable to compete. A plebeian farmer driven from his land might migrate to Rome, his family in tow, their belongings carried in a single cart, the scent of dust and despair trailing in their wake. In the city, he would join the growing ranks of the urban poor living in cramped insulae, tenement buildings of wood and mud, where the air was thick with the scent of smoke and unwashed bodies, the sound of crying children a constant refrain. The cultural adoption of Greek ways also deepened the divide. For while the patricians embraced the sophistication of the East, the plebeians clung to their traditional Roman values, their pride in their farmer-soldier heritage a quiet defiance. Plebeian might stand in the forum, his tunic patched and faded, as he watched a patrician youth recite Greek poetry, the words foreign to his ears, the display a reminder of his exclusion. In the temples, where once the Romans had offered simple sacrifices to their gods, grain, wine, a lamb, the patricians now built altars in the Greek style, their offerings extravagant, their prayers spoken in a language that the common people did not understand. The scent of myrrh and frankincense, imported from the Seleucid Empire, filled the air, a stark contrast to the earthy aroma of the barley cakes that the plebeians offered to Vesta, the goddess of the hearth. The growing divide between rich and poor, patrician and plebeian, was a quiet storm brewing beneath the surface of Rome's triumph, its effects felt in every corner of the Republic. The half-citizens and allies of Italy who had fought alongside Rome in its wars began to resent their unequal status, their voices a soft plea for the full rights of citizenship, their loyalty strained by the wealth that passed them by. The urban poor, crowded into the city's slums, grew restless, their hunger a constant ache, their dreams of a better life fading like the stars at dawn. Even among the patricians, rivalries deepened, their ambition fueled by the wealth of the East, their competition for power a quiet dance of betrayal and intrigue. As the sun set over the 7 hills, casting a warm glow across the city, the Romans gathered in their homes, their oil lamps flickering in the darkness. In the villas of the patricians, the scent of jasmine and wine filled the air, the laughter of guests a soft melody, while in the insulae of the plebeians, the scent of burning wood and barley porridge offered a simple comfort, the murmur of family, a quiet solace. The spoils of conquest had brought Rome wealth and culture, but they had also sown the seeds of division, a tension that would grow in the years to come, its roots deep in the soil of a republic that was changing faster than its people could comprehend. The future, like the Tiber's gentle current, flowed onward, its path uncertain, its destination a mystery yet to be revealed. The year is 133 BC. and the Roman Republic, enriched by its conquests in the east and west, appears to be at the height of its power, its name whispered in awe from the sands of Egypt to the forests of Gaul. The forum hums with life, the air thick with the scent of freshly baked bread, and the murmur of 1,000 voices. Merchants haggling over silks from the Seleucid Empire, priests chanting prayers to Jupiter, and citizens debating the latest news from the provinces. Yet beneath this surface of prosperity, cracks are beginning to form. A quiet tension that ripples through the Republic like the Tiber's gentle current, its waters reflecting a city on the brink of change. The spoils of Rome's conquests had brought immense wealth, but they had also deepened the divide between rich and poor, patrician and plebeian, citizen and ally. The patricians whose villas on the Palatine Hill overlooked the city like silent sentinels had grown richer than ever. Their estates, known as latifundia, stretching across the Italian countryside, their fields worked by slaves captured in the wars against Carthage and the Hellenistic kingdoms. A senator might recline in his courtyard, the scent of jasmine and wine heavy in the air, as he counted his silver coins, their weight a testament to the indemnities paid by defeated kings. His wife, draped in silks dyed purple with Tyrian dye, might wear a necklace of pearls from the Red Sea. Her laughter a soft melody as slaves served dishes of peacock and dormice, their flavors a reminder of the East. But for the plebeians, the common farmers and laborers who had once been the backbone of Rome, life had grown increasingly difficult, their dreams of prosperity fading like the stars at dawn. The influx of slaves had displaced many small farmers, their lands bought up by wealthy patricians or left fallow, as they struggled to compete with the cheap grain imported from Sicily and Egypt. A farmer on the Aventine Hill might stand in his field, his hands calloused from the plow, as he watched his crops wither, the scent of dust and despair heavy in the air. Driven from his land, he might migrate to Rome, his family in tow, their belongings carried in a single cart, their voices a soft murmur of hope as they sought a new life in the city. But Rome offered little solace. Its insulae, tenement buildings of wood and mud, crowded and dirty, the air thick with the scent of smoke and unwashed bodies, the sound of crying children a constant refrain. This growing divide fueled resentment, a quiet bitterness that simmered among the plebeians, their voices a murmur of discontent in the forum. The urban poor, their numbers swelling with each passing year, lived on the edge of survival, their hunger a constant ache, their dreams of citizenship's privileges, once a source of pride, now a distant memory. The half-citizens and allies of Italy, who had fought alongside Rome in its wars, also grew restless, their loyalty strained by the unequal distribution of wealth and rights. A Sabine half-citizen might stand in his village, his shield emblazoned with the emblem of his tribe, as he spoke of the battles he had fought for Rome. His voice soft with frustration at the citizenship he had been denied, the scent of pine and wildflowers, a reminder of the lands he had defended. Into this fractured republic stepped two brothers, Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus, whose reforms would shake Rome to its core. Their voices a quiet call for justice in a city that had forgotten its roots. Tiberius Gracchus, the elder of the two, was elected tribune of the plebs in 133 BC, his face youthful but resolute. His toga draped over his shoulders as he stood in the forum, the torchlight casting a warm glow on the assembled crowd. Tiberius, a patrician by birth, had seen the plight of the plebeians firsthand, his heart moved by the sight of farmers driven from their lands, their children hungry, their wives weary, the scent of despair clinging to them like a shadow. He proposed a land reform bill, the Lex Sempronia Agraria, which aimed to redistribute public land, much of it held illegally by wealthy patricians, to the landless poor, a measure that would restore the small farmer to his rightful place in the Republic. The proposal sent shockwaves through Rome, its implications a quiet challenge to the power of the elite. In the Senate, the patricians reacted with fury, their voices a chorus of indignation, the scent of incense heavy in the air as they debated the bill. They saw Tiberius's reform as an attack on their privilege, their latifundia a symbol of their status, their slaves a source of their wealth. A senator might sit in his villa, his hands trembling with anger, as he spoke of the Gracchi brothers, their names a curse on his lips, the oil lamp flickering in the evening breeze. But the plebeians cheered Tiberius, their voices rising like a wave, their hope a flickering flame in the darkness, the scent of bread and wine a comfort as they gathered to hear him speak. Tiberius's reform passed, but its implementation was met with resistance, the patricians using their influence to obstruct the land commission, their tactics a quiet defiance of the law. The tension escalated, the air thick with the scent of unrest, until tragedy struck. In 133 BC, during a heated assembly in the Forum, a group of senators and their supporters attacked Tiberius and his followers, their clubs raised, their voices a roar of anger. Tiberius was struck down, his body falling to the cobblestones, the blood staining the ground as the crowd scattered, their cries of horror a soft echo in the night. 300 of his supporters died with him, their deaths a quiet testament to the Republic's growing divisions, the 7 hills standing as silent witnesses to the violence that had shattered the peace of Rome. 10 years later, in 123 BC, Tiberius's younger brother, Gaius Gracchus, took up the cause, his voice a quiet echo of his brother's, his determination a flame that burned even brighter. Gaius, elected tribune of the plebs, was a man of vision, his reforms more ambitious than Tiberius. His heart set on restoring balance to the Republic. He proposed a series of laws to address the grievances of the poor, his words a soft melody in the Forum, the scent of dust and sweat, a reminder of the people he served. Gaius sought to continue the land redistribution, ensuring that the landless received their share, their fields a promise of a better life, the scent of earth and wildflowers a symbol of hope. He also introduced grain subsidies, providing cheap bread to the urban poor, their hunger eased by the state, their voices a murmur of gratitude as they lined up in the Forum, the air thick with the aroma of freshly baked loaves. Gaius went further, proposing reforms to extend citizenship to the Italian allies, a measure that would grant them the rights they had long been denied, their loyalty rewarded with a place in the Republic. A Samnite ally might stand in his village, his hands rough from years of labor, as he listened to Gaius's words carried by a messenger, his heart swelling with hope, the scent of pine and smoke a comfort in the evening air. But these reforms, like Tiberius, met fierce opposition, the patricians seeing them as a threat to their power, their voices a chorus of defiance in the Senate, the oil lamps flickering as they plotted their response. Gaius's enemies accused him of seeking to overthrow the Republic, their words a quiet poison that spread through the city, the air thick with the scent of intrigue. In 121 BC, the tension boiled over, the Forum once again a scene of violence, its cobblestones stained with the blood of reform. Gaius and his supporters were attacked by a mob led by the Senate, their clubs and knives flashing in the sunlight, their voices a roar of anger as they struck. Gaius fled to the Aventine Hill, his heart heavy with the weight of failure, the scent of dust and despair trailing in his wake. There, surrounded by his enemies, he took his own life, his body falling to the earth, his blood a quiet testament to the Republic's inability to heal its wounds. Thousands of his followers were killed or executed in the aftermath, their deaths a shadow over the city, the 7 hills a silent witness to the tragedy that had unfolded. The failure of the Gracchi reforms deepened the cracks in the Republic, their dreams of justice a fading whisper in the wind. The resentment of the plebeians and allies grew, their voices a murmur of discontent that echoed through the countryside, the scent of burning wood a reminder of the homes they had lost. The social war, which erupted in 91 BC, was the culmination of these tensions, a conflict that pitted Rome against its Italian allies, their loyalty finally broken by years of exclusion. The allies, led by the Marsi and Samnites, demanded full citizenship, their armies marching under banners of their own, their voices a quiet roar of defiance, the air thick with the scent of dust and blood. The social war was a brutal conflict, its battles fought across the Italian peninsula, the fields and hills once united now divided by war, A Roman legion might face a Samnite army on a sunlit plain. Their shields locked, their spears lowered, the clash of metal a distant echo in the mountains. The Romans, led by generals like Lucius Cornelius Sulla, fought with a quiet ferocity, their resolve a testament to their determination to preserve the Republic. But the cost was high. The fields littered with the fallen, the scent of smoke and blood, a constant reminder of the war's toll. In the end, Rome granted citizenship to the allies in 89 BC. Their demands met after years of bloodshed. Their voices finally heard, the scent of olive blossoms a symbol of a fragile peace. But the social war left scars, its legacy a quiet warning of the Republic's fragility, its institutions strained by the weight of inequality and unrest. As the sun set over the 7 hills, casting a warm glow across the city, the Romans gathered in their homes, their oil lamps flickering in the darkness. In the Forum, the scent of incense and roasted meat drifted through the air, a reminder of the triumphs that had once united them. But now the city felt the weight of division, its future uncertain, its destiny a mystery yet to be revealed. The cracks in the Republic had widened, their echoes a soft whisper of the challenges that lay ahead, a whisper that would soon become a roar. The year is 107 BC, and the Roman Republic, though victorious in its wars against Carthage and the Hellenistic kingdoms, now faces a new challenge, one that comes not from foreign enemies, but from within its own walls. The Forum, the heart of the city, hums with life, the air thick with the scent of incense and roasted meat, the murmur of voices rising like a soft breeze, merchants bartering for silks, priests offering prayers to Jupiter, and citizens debating the latest news from the Senate. Yet beneath this surface of order, the Republic's institutions are beginning to fray their foundations, weakened by the growing divide between rich and poor, the unrest of the social war, and the rise of a new kind of leader. The strongman, a military figure whose ambition threatens the delicate balance of power that has defined Rome for centuries. The cracks in the Republic, widened by the failed reforms of the Gracchi brothers and the bloodshed of the social war, created a vacuum that ambitious men were eager to fill. The Roman Senate, once a bastion of shared governance, had become a battleground for rival factions, its members more concerned with personal gain than the good of the state. The patricians, their villas on the Palatine Hill filled with the spoils of conquest, clung to their privileges, their voices a quiet chorus of resistance to change, the scent of jasmine and wine heavy in their courtyards. The plebeians, crowded into the insulae of the Aventine Hill, their lives marked by hunger and hardship, looked to new leaders for hope, their voices a murmur of desperation in the Forum, the scent of burning wood and barley porridge a reminder of their struggle. Into this fractured republic stepped Gaius Marius, a man whose rise would mark the beginning of a new era, his ambition a quiet flame that would both strengthen and threaten Rome's traditions. Gaius Marius was a novus homo, a new man, born in 157 BC in the small town of Arpinum, far from the marble halls of the Roman elite. He was a plebeian by birth, his hands rough from years of labor, his face weathered by the sun, his voice carrying the accent of the countryside, the scent of earth and wildflowers, a constant memory of his youth. Marius rose through the ranks of the military, his talent for leadership evident in the wars against Numidia, a North African kingdom ruled by the cunning king Jugurtha. In 107 BC, Marius was elected consul, his victory a quiet triumph for the common people, their cheers rising like a wave in the Forum, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. But his election came at a cost, for Marius bypassed the Senate's authority to secure his command, his actions a quiet challenge to the Republic's traditions, the air thick with the scent of unrest. Marius's greatest contribution to Rome was his reform of the army, a change that would reshape the Republic's military and political landscape. Before Marius, the Roman legions were composed of citizen soldiers, farmers who left their fields to fight, their loyalty to the state rooted in their status as landowners. But the economic changes of the late Republic, the rise of latifundia, the displacement of small farmers, the influx of slaves, had left many Romans landless, their dreams of citizenship's privileges a fading whisper in the wind. Marius opened the legions to these men the capite censi, the head count, the poorest of the poor, offering them a chance to serve their voices a soft murmur of gratitude as they enlisted the scent of dust and leather, a reminder of the battles they would face. These reforms transformed the Roman army into a professional force, its soldiers no longer tied to the land, their loyalty now to their general rather than the state. A Marian legionary might stand on the field of Mars, his new armor gleaming in the sunlight, his shield emblazoned with the eagle of Rome, his voice low as he spoke of the pay and land promised by Marius, the scent of sweat and iron, a constant companion. The legions became more disciplined, their training rigorous, their formations tight, their swords sharp with the promise of victory. But this shift came with a price for the soldiers, now dependent on their general for their livelihood, became a tool of political power. Their allegiance a quiet threat to the Republic's balance, the Seven Hills standing as silent witnesses to the change. Marius's success in the Jugurthine War, which ended in 105 BC, with the capture of Jugurtha, cemented his status as a hero, his name whispered with awe in the forum. The scent of roasted meat and wine, a celebration of his triumph. But his rise also set a precedent, a quiet shift in the Republic's power dynamics that would pave the way for others to follow. In 100 BC, Marius was elected consul for the sixth time, an unprecedented breach of tradition, his ambition a flame that burned brighter with each victory, the air thick with the scent of intrigue. His success inspired other military leaders to seek power through their legions, their voices a quiet challenge to the Senate, their soldiers a force that could bend the Republic to their will. One such leader was Lucius Cornelius Sulla, a patrician whose rivalry with Marius would plunge Rome into civil war. His ambition a quiet storm that would further erode the Republic's traditions. Sulla, born in 138 BC, was a man of contradictions. A noble by birth but impoverished in his youth, his face marked by a fiery temper, his voice calm but commanding the scent of myrrh and leather, a constant reminder of his military life. Sulla rose to prominence during the Social War, his legions crushing the Italian allies with a quiet ferocity, their shields locked. Their spears lowered the clash of metal echoing through the hills, the scent of blood and smoke, a testament to their victory. In 88 BC, Sulla was elected consul, his crimson cloak a symbol of his authority, his name a quiet promise of order in a city that had grown chaotic. But Sulla's consulship was marred by conflict, his rivalry with Marius a quiet fire that burned through the Republic's institutions. The Senate had granted Sulla command of a war against Mithridates VI of Pontus, a Hellenistic king, whose armies had massacred 80,000 Romans in Asia Minor, their deaths a quiet outrage that demanded retribution. But Marius, ever ambitious, sought the command for himself, his supporters in the popular assembly overriding the Senate's decision, their voices a roar of defiance in the forum, the scent of dust and sweat heavy in the air. Sulla, enraged by the slight, did the unthinkable. He marched his legions on Rome, the first time a Roman general had turned his army against the city. Their footsteps a quiet thunder on the Via Appia, the scent of dust and fear trailing in their wake. In 88 BC, Sulla's forces entered Rome, their swords drawn, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of the Republic, their voices a soft chant of loyalty to their general. The city, unprepared for such an assault, fell into chaos, the forum a scene of violence, its cobblestones stained with blood, the air thick with the scent of smoke and panic. Sulla declared Marius and his supporters enemies of the state, their names a curse on his lips, their followers hunted through the streets, their cries a soft echo in the night. Marius fled, his life spared by a narrow escape, the scent of salt and seaweed a reminder of the sea that carried him to safety. Sulla, now in control, set a dangerous precedent, his actions a quiet declaration that military might could trump the Senate's authority, the Seven Hills standing as silent witnesses to the Republic's unraveling. Sulla's march on Rome was a turning point, a moment that shattered the illusion of the Republic's stability, its traditions now a fading whisper in the wind. After securing his command against Mithridates, Sulla left for the east, his legions marching under a sky streaked with amber, the scent of pine and wildflowers, a reminder of the lands they would conquer. But his absence left Rome vulnerable, and Marius returned in 87 BC, his own forces seizing the city in a brutal reprisal, their swords flashing in the sunlight, their voices a roar of vengeance, the Forum once again a scene of bloodshed, the scent of blood and smoke, a constant reminder of the civil war that had begun. Marius died shortly after, his legacy a quiet warning of the dangers of unchecked ambition, his name a whisper in the halls of power. Sulla returned in 83 BC, his victories in the east a quiet triumph, his legions now a force that none could challenge. He marched on Rome once more, his forces clashing with those loyal to Marius's faction. The battles fought across the Italian peninsula, the fields littered with the fallen, the scent of dust and blood a testament to the Republic's descent into chaos. In 82 BC, Sulla emerged victorious, his legions entering Rome with a quiet ferocity, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of the state they had once served, their voices a soft chant of loyalty to their general. Sulla declared himself dictator, a title once used in times of crisis but now a symbol of absolute power. His reforms a quiet attempt to restore the Republic's traditions, the air thick with the scent of change. Sulla's dictatorship set a precedent for military rule, his actions a quiet shift that would echo through the Republic's final years. He retired in 79 BC, his power relinquished, his villa on the Campanian coast a sanctuary where the scent of the sea and olive blossoms offered a quiet solace. But the damage had been done. The rise of strongmen like Marius and Sulla had eroded the Republic's institutions, their legions a tool of personal ambition, their voices a quiet challenge to the Senate's authority. As the sun set over the 7 hills casting a warm glow across the city, the Romans gathered in their homes, their oil lamps flickering in the darkness, their voices a soft murmur of fear and hope, the future a mystery, yet to be revealed, the Republic's fate hanging in the balance. Picture the bustling streets of Rome in the mid-1st century BC, where the sun rises over the 7 hills, casting a golden glow on a city that stands as the undisputed master of the Mediterranean. The year is 60 BC, and the Roman Republic, though outwardly strong, is a fragile vessel, its hull cracked by decades of internal strife, the rise of strong men like Marius and Sulla, and the growing divide between rich and poor. The Forum, the heart of the city, hums with life, the air thick with the scent of incense and roasted meat, the murmur of voices rising like a soft breeze, merchants bartering for silks from the east, priests offering prayers to Jupiter, and citizens debating the latest news from the provinces. Yet beneath this surface of order, a new struggle for power is brewing, one that will pit 2 of Rome's greatest generals against each other, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, known as Pompey the Great, and Gaius Julius Caesar, their rivalry a quiet storm that will plunge the Republic into civil war, its echoes a whisper of the end of an era. Pompey the Great was born in 106 BC, a patrician whose family had risen to prominence through military service. His father, a general who had fought in the social war, his name a quiet legacy in the halls of the Senate. Pompey was a man of striking presence, his face handsome and stern, his voice calm but commanding, the scent of leather and myrrh a constant reminder of his military life. He rose to fame during Sulla's dictatorship, his legions crushing the remnants of Marius's faction with a quiet ferocity, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of Rome, their swords sharp with the promise of victory. By the age of 25, Pompey had earned the title Magnus, the Great, a name bestowed by Sulla himself, his triumphs a quiet testament to his skill. The Forum filled with the cheers of citizens, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. Pompey's career was marked by extraordinary success, his campaigns a series of quiet triumphs that expanded Rome's dominion. In 67 BC, he was tasked with clearing the Mediterranean of pirates, a scourge that had plagued Roman trade for years, their ships lurking off the coasts of Cilicia, their sails a dark omen against the horizon. Pompey swept through the sea with a fleet of 500 ships, his triremes cutting through the waves, the scent of salt and seaweed heavy in the air, the beat of the oars a steady rhythm in the stillness. Within 3 months, the pirates were defeated. Their strongholds burned, their survivors offered mercy. Their voices a soft murmur of gratitude as they settled in Roman colonies. The sea once again safe for trade, the scent of olives and wine, a reminder of the prosperity that followed. In 66 BC, Pompey was granted command against Mithridates VI of Pontus, a Hellenistic king whose defiance had cost Rome dearly. His massacre of 80,000 Romans in Asia Minor, a quiet outrage that demanded retribution. Pompey's legions marched east, their footsteps a soft thunder on the Via Egnatia, the scent of pine and wildflowers trailing in their wake. He defeated Mithridates with a quiet efficiency, his armies sweeping through Asia Minor, Armenia, and Syria, their banners fluttering in the wind, the clash of metal a distant echo in the mountains. Pompey reorganized the East, founding new cities, establishing client kingdoms, and securing Rome's borders. His name whispered with awe in the Forum, the scent of incense and roasted meat, a celebration of his triumph. By 61 BC, when he returned to Rome, Pompey was the most powerful man in the Republic, his victories a quiet testament to his greatness, the 7 hills standing as silent witnesses to his glory. But Pompey's success bred resentment, his power a quiet threat to the Senate's authority, his legions a force that could bend the Republic to his will. Into this tense atmosphere stepped Gaius Julius Caesar, a man whose ambition would rival Pompey's, his rise a quiet flame that would burn through the Republic's final years. Caesar was born in 100 BC, a patrician of the Julian genes, his family claiming descent from the goddess Venus, his lineage a quiet pride in the halls of the Senate. Caesar was a man of charm and intellect, his face sharp and angular, his voice smooth and persuasive, the scent of myrrh and papyrus a reminder of his love for literature and politics. He rose through the ranks of Roman politics with a quiet determination, his oratory skills captivating the crowds in the Forum, his promises of reform a soft melody to the plebeians, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. In 60 BC, Caesar, Pompey, and Marcus Licinius Crassus, a wealthy financier whose gold had funded their campaigns, formed the First Triumvirate, a private alliance that would dominate Roman politics, their voices a quiet agreement in the shadows of the Senate. Crassus, known as the richest man in Rome, brought his wealth, his villa filled with the scent of exotic spices and the clink of silver. His ambition a quiet force that bound the three together. Pompey brought his military might, his legions a quiet promise of stability, the scent of leather and iron a reminder of his victories. Caesar brought his political acumen, his popularity with the plebeians, a quiet power that secured his election as consul in 59 BC. The Forum filled with the cheers of the crowd, the air thick with the scent of hope and change. The First Triumvirate was a fragile alliance, its members united by ambition, but divided by rivalry, their voices a soft murmur of distrust beneath their public unity. Caesar, as consul, pushed through land reforms to benefit Pompey's veterans, their voices a quiet gratitude as they received plots in Campania, the scent of earth and wildflowers a symbol of a new life. He also secured a 5-year command in Gaul, his legions marching north in 58 BC, their footsteps a soft thunder on the Via Flaminia, the scent of dust and leather trailing in their wake. In Gaul, Caesar waged a series of campaigns that would make him a legend, his legions conquering the tribes of the north, their shields locked their swords, flashing in the sunlight, the clash of metal echoing through the forests, the scent of blood and smoke, a testament to their victory. By 50 BC, Caesar's success in Gaul had made him a rival to Pompey, his wealth and fame a quiet challenge to the older general's dominance, the air thick with the scent of tension. Crassus, the third member of the triumvirate, had died in 53 BC at the Battle of Carrhae, his campaign against the Parthians a disastrous defeat, his golden eagle standard captured, his death a quiet fracture in the alliance, the scent of dust and despair a reminder of his failure. With Crassus gone, the rivalry between Pompey and Caesar deepened, their voices a quiet storm that threatened to tear the Republic apart. The Senate, fearing Caesar's growing power, sided with Pompey, ordering Caesar to disband his legions and return to Rome as a private citizen. Their decree a quiet challenge to his ambition, the forum filled with the murmur of debate, the scent of incense heavy in the air. Caesar, however, refused to yield, his resolve a quiet flame that burned brighter with each passing day. On January 10th, 49 BC, he stood on the banks of the Rubicon River, a small stream in northern Italy that marked the boundary between his province and Roman territory. The air thick with the scent of frost and pine, the water shimmering in the moonlight. To cross the Rubicon with his legions would be an act of war, a quiet declaration of rebellion against the Senate. The consequences a mystery yet to be revealed. Caesar, his crimson cloak billowing in the wind, turned to his soldiers, his voice calm but resolute, the words, "Alea iacta est." The die is cast. A soft whisper that echoed through the night. With a quiet determination, he led his legions across the river, their footsteps a soft thunder on the icy ground, the scent of leather and iron a reminder of the battles to come. The crossing of the Rubicon marked the beginning of a civil war that would engulf the Republic, its flames a quiet roar that would consume the old order. Pompey, tasked by the Senate with defending Rome, fled to Greece with his forces, his ships cutting through the waves, the scent of salt and seaweed heavy in the air. The stars above a cold witness to his retreat. Caesar marched on Rome unopposed, his legions entering the city with a quiet ferocity. Their shields emblazoned with the eagle of the Republic, they now defied the Forum. A scene of eerie calm, the scent of dust and fear trailing in their wake. The Civil War had begun. Its battles fought across the Mediterranean, Spain, Greece, Egypt, Africa. The fields littered with the fallen, the scent of blood and smoke a testament to the Republic's descent into chaos. In 48 BC, the two armies met at the Battle of Pharsalus in Thessaly, a sunlit plain where the air was thick with the scent of wild thyme and dust. The distant mountains a hazy silhouette against the sky. Caesar, with 22,000 men, faced Pompey's larger force of 45,000, their legions arrayed in tight formations, their shields locked, their swords at the ready. Caesar's veterans, hardened by years in Gaul, fought with a quiet precision, their centurions' voices low and steady as they directed the advance, the clash of metal echoing through the hills. Pompey's forces, despite their numbers, faltered under the pressure, their lines breaking as Caesar's cavalry struck at their flanks, their horses galloping across the plain, their spears lowered for the kill. By the end of the day, Pompey's army was shattered, his survivors fleeing into the countryside, their general escaping to Egypt, his dreams of victory a fading whisper in the wind. Pompey sought refuge in Alexandria, but his arrival was met with betrayal, the Ptolemaic court eager to curry favor with Caesar. Ordering his death, his body left on the shore, the scent of salt and blood a quiet testament to his fall. Caesar, arriving in pursuit, found Pompey dead, his heart heavy with the weight of loss, the air thick with the scent of lotus flowers and papyrus as he stood on the banks of the Nile. The civil war continued, but Pharsalus had been the decisive blow, Caesar's victory a quiet triumph that marked the end of Pompey's era. The Republic's fate now in the hands of one man, its future a mystery yet to be revealed. As the sun set over the 7 hills, casting a warm glow across the city, the Romans gathered in their homes, their oil lamps flickering in the darkness, their voices a soft murmur of fear and hope, the echoes of civil war, a whisper of the end of an age. The Forum, the heart of the Republic, hums with life, the air thick with the scent of blooming flowers and roasted meat, the murmur of voices rising like a soft breeze, merchants bartering for silks from the east, priests offering prayers to Jupiter, and citizens whispering about the man who now rules them. Gaius Julius Caesar, having emerged victorious from the civil war against Pompey, has become the most powerful man in Rome, his name a quiet echo of triumph and fear. The Tiber River, winding gently through the city, reflects the dawn light, its waters carrying the weight of a republic that has been transformed, its institutions strained by decades of strife, its future now resting in the hands of one man, a man whose ambition will soon lead to a moment that will echo through history, the Ides of March. Caesar's rise to power had been a quiet storm, his victories in Gaul and the Civil War cementing his status as a leader unlike any Rome had seen before. In 49 BC, after crossing the Rubicon, he had marched on Rome unopposed, his legions entering the city with a quiet ferocity, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of the Republic they now served under his command. The Senate, fearful of his power, had named him dictator, a title once used in times of crisis but now a symbol of absolute rule. His crimson cloak a stark contrast to the white togas of the senators, his voice calm but commanding as he issued decrees from the Curia, the scent of incense heavy in the air. Caesar's reforms were bold, his vision for Rome a quiet promise of stability in a city that had known chaos for too long. He reorganized the calendar, creating the Julian system that would endure for centuries, its months a quiet rhythm that brought order to the seasons, the scent of papyrus and ink, a reminder of the scribes who recorded his decrees. He granted citizenship to many in the provinces, their voices a soft murmur of gratitude as they gained the rights of Romans, the scent of olive blossoms a symbol of their new status. He settled his veterans on lands in Italy and beyond, their shields laid down, their hands now turning the earth, the scent of wildflowers and freshly plowed soil, a testament to their new lives. In the Forum, Caesar built the Basilica Julia, its marble columns rising like a forest, its roof of imported cedar fragrant in the sunlight, a space where magistrates sat beneath frescoes of Roman victories, their voices a soft echo of justice. But Caesar's power came at a cost, for his rule challenged the very traditions that had defined the Republic for centuries. The Romans, a people who had once cast off their kings with quiet defiance, harbored a deep hatred of monarchy, their memories of Tarquin the Proud, a whisper of tyranny that lingered in the air. Caesar, though he refused the title of king, acted as one, his statues erected in temples alongside the gods, his image stamped on coins, his name invoked in prayers, the scent of myrrh and frankincense, a reminder of his divine status. He wore the purple robe of a king, its color as rich as the Tyrian dye that had once adorned Hellenistic monarchs. His golden chair in the Senate a throne in all but name, the air thick with the scent of tension as senators bowed before him. This growing autocracy stirred resentment, a quiet bitterness that simmered among the elite, their voices a murmur of discontent in the halls of power. A group of senators led by Gaius Cassius Longinus and Marcus Junius Brutus began to plot against Caesar, their meetings held in secret, the scent of oil lamps and papyrus heavy in the air as they whispered of liberty and the Republic's honor. Brutus, a man torn between loyalty and duty, was a descendant of the legendary Lucius Junius Brutus, who had expelled the Tarquins centuries before, his lineage a quiet weight on his shoulders, the scent of dust and history a constant reminder of his ancestors' legacy. Caesar had treated Brutus like a son, his trust in him a quiet bond that made the betrayal all the more poignant, the air thick with the scent of betrayal as the conspirators planned their move. The date they chose was the Ides of March, March 15th, 44 BC, a day when the Senate was set to meet in the theater of Pompey, its marble halls a quiet echo of the man Caesar had defeated years before. The morning dawned clear and bright, the air filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the distant hum of the city, the Tiber reflecting the sunlight like a silver ribbon. Caesar, warned of danger by his wife Calpurnia, who had dreamed of his death, hesitated, his heart heavy with the weight of her fears, the scent of lotus flowers and myrrh a reminder of her plea. But the conspirators, fearing he might not attend, sent Decimus Brutus, a trusted friend, to persuade him, his voice a soft reassurance that all was well, the air thick with the scent of deception, as Caesar agreed to go. As Caesar entered the theater of Pompey, his crimson cloak billowing in the breeze, the senators rose to greet him, their voices a soft murmur of respect, the scent of incense and marble heavy in the air. He took his seat on the golden chair, his face calm but weary, the weight of his power a quiet burden on his shoulders. The conspirators approached, their togas hiding the daggers they carried, their movements slow and deliberate, the air thick with the scent of anticipation. Tillius Cimber, one of the plotters, stepped forward, his voice a soft plea for the recall of his exiled brother, his hands tugging at Caesar's toga. As the others closed in, their daggers drawn, their voices a quiet chant of liberty as they struck. Caesar, caught off guard, fought back with a quiet ferocity, his voice a cry of defiance as the blades found their mark, the scent of blood and iron a stark contrast to the marble around him. When he saw Brutus among the assassins, his heart broke, his voice a soft whisper. "Et tu, Brute." "Then you too, Brutus." The words a quiet lament as he fell, his body crumpling to the floor, his blood staining the stone, the air thick with the scent of tragedy. 23 stab wounds marked his body, each a quiet testament to the hatred and fear he had inspired. The theater of Pompey, a silent witness to the end of an era, its marble walls echoing with the cries of the senators who fled in panic. Caesar's assassination on the Ides of March sent shockwaves through Rome, its echoes a quiet roar that reverberated through the city. In the Forum, the news spread like wildfire, the air thick with the scent of fear and chaos, the murmur of voices rising into a crescendo of panic. The conspirators, calling themselves the Liberatores, had hoped to restore the Republic. Their voices a soft plea for the traditions of old, the scent of dust and history a reminder of their cause. But their actions plunged Rome into a power vacuum, its institutions too weak to withstand the storm that followed. The Seven Hills standing as silent witnesses to the Republic's unraveling. Caesar's death left a void that many sought to fill, their ambitions a quiet flame that burned through the city. Mark Antony, Caesar's loyal lieutenant, emerged as a key figure, his voice a roar of vengeance as he spoke at Caesar's funeral, the forum filled with the scent of burning wood and myrrh as the pyre was lit. Antony held up Caesar's blood-stained toga, his words a soft melody of grief and rage, the crowd's tears falling like rain as they mourned their leader, their voices a chant of anger against the assassins. Brutus and Cassius, fearing for their lives, fled Rome, their legions gathering in the east, their voices a quiet promise of resistance, the scent of pine and wildflowers a reminder of the lands they would defend. Meanwhile, Caesar's will revealed a surprising heir, his grandnephew, Gaius Octavianus, an 18-year-old youth who had been adopted as his son, his name a quiet whisper of destiny in the halls of power. Octavian, a young man of sharp intellect and quiet ambition, arrived in Rome to claim his inheritance, his voice a soft challenge to Antony, the scent of dust and leather a reminder of the legions he would soon command. The power vacuum deepened the divide in Rome, its citizens torn between loyalty to the Republic and the promise of a new order, the air thick with the scent of uncertainty as the city braced for the struggles to come. As the sun set over the Seven Hills casting a warm glow across the Tiber, the Romans gathered in their homes, their oil lamps flickering in the darkness, their voices a soft murmur of fear and hope, the echoes of the Ides of March, a whisper of a future yet to be written. Imagine the sun rising over the Seven Hills of Rome in the spring of 44 BC, its golden light casting a soft glow across a city that mourns the loss of its greatest leader. The air carries the scent of blooming flowers and burning wood, a lingering reminder of Julius Caesar's funeral pyre, its flames having consumed the man who had ruled Rome with a quiet ferocity. The Forum, once a place of triumph and debate, now hums with uncertainty, the murmur of voices rising like a gentle breeze, merchants whispering of trade disrupted by civil strife, priests offering prayers to Jupiter for peace, and citizens speaking in hushed tones of the power vacuum left by Caesar's assassination on the Ides of March. Into this fractured republic steps a young man barely 18 years old, his name a whisper of destiny, Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus, known to history as Octavian. A youth whose quiet ambition will reshape Rome forever, his rise a soft but unyielding tide that will carry the Republic toward its final days. Octavian was an unlikely heir, a grandnephew of Caesar who had been adopted as his son in the dictator's will. A revelation that shocked Rome, its echoes a quiet tremor in the halls of power. Born in 63 BC to a modest branch of the Julian family, Octavian was a youth of delicate health but sharp intellect, his pale face framed by dark curls, his voice soft but steady, the scent of papyrus and ink a constant companion from his days studying in Apollonia, a Greek city on the Adriatic coast. He had been there learning the arts of rhetoric and war when news of Caesar's death reached him, the air thick with the scent of salt and cedar as he boarded a ship for Italy, his heart heavy with the weight of his new destiny, the stars above a cold witness to his journey. When Octavian arrived in Rome, the city was a cauldron of rivalries, its factions vying for control, their voices a quiet storm that threatened to tear the Republic apart. Antony Caesar's loyal lieutenant held sway with his legions, his voice a roar of vengeance as he rallied Caesar's veterans, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of Rome, their loyalty a quiet flame that burned for their fallen leader. Antony had seized Caesar's papers and treasury, his hands stained with the gold of the dictator's legacy, the scent of myrrh and leather a reminder of his military might. The assassins, Brutus and Cassius, had fled to the east, their legions gathering in Greece and Asia Minor, their voices a soft promise of resistance, the scent of pine and wildflowers a reminder of the lands they would defend. The Senate, fearful of Antony's power, wavered, their togas a stark contrast to the chaos around them, the scent of incense heavy in the curia as they debated Rome's future. Octavian, though young, moved with a quiet cunning that belied his years, his every step a calculated dance in the shadow of giants. He began by honoring Caesar's memory, adopting the name Gaius Julius Caesar to signal his legitimacy, his voice a soft declaration of his intent. The forum filled with the murmur of citizens who saw in him a reflection of their lost leader. He used his inheritance to pay the legacies Caesar had promised to the Roman people, their voices a quiet gratitude as they received their share, the scent of bread and wine a symbol of their renewed hope. Octavian also courted Caesar's veterans, his words a soft melody of loyalty as he promised them land and glory, their cheers rising like a wave, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces as they swore allegiance to the young heir. But Octavian's rise was not without challenges, his youth a quiet vulnerability, in a city ruled by seasoned warriors. Antony dismissed him as a mere boy, his voice a scoff in the forum, the scent of leather and iron a reminder of his legion's might. The two clashed early on, their rivalry a quiet fire that burned through Rome, its streets filled with the tension of their supporters, the air thick with the scent of unrest. In 43 BC, the Senate, seeking to counter Antony's power, granted Octavian a military command, his legions marching under a sky streaked with amber, the scent of dust and wildflowers trailing in their wake. Octavian, ever pragmatic, allied with Antony and Marcus Aemilius Lepidus, a loyal Caesarian officer, forming the Second Triumvirate, a legal alliance sanctioned by the Senate, its purpose a quiet promise to restore order, the scent of papyrus and ink, a reminder of the law that bound them. The Triumvirate's first act was a purge, a quiet but brutal reckoning that silenced their enemies, its echoes a whisper of terror in the city. Brutus and Cassius, branded as enemies of the state, were targeted, their names a curse on the lips of the triumvirs, the scent of blood and smoke, a reminder of the proscriptions that followed. The proscriptions listed hundreds of senators and citizens for execution, their wealth seized to fund the triumvirs' war, their villas on the Palatine Hill left empty, the scent of jasmine and wine, a fading memory of their lives. Cicero, the great orator who had opposed Antony, was among the victims, his hands and head nailed to the rostra in the forum, the air thick with the scent of despair as the citizens mourned, their voices a soft lament for the Republic's lost ideals. In 42 BC, the triumvirs turned their attention to Brutus and Cassius, their legions marching east to confront the assassins, the Via Egnatia, a quiet path through the mountains, the scent of pine and wildflowers, a constant companion. The two armies met at the Battle of Philippi and Macedon, a sunlit plain where the air was thick with the scent of dust and wild thyme, the distant hills a hazy silhouette against the sky. Octavian and Antony, commanding 100,000 men, faced Brutus and Cassius's 80,000. Their legions arrayed in tight formations, their shields locked, their swords at the ready. The battle was fought in two phases, its clashes a quiet roar that echoed through the hills, the scent of blood and iron a testament to the ferocity of the fight. Cassius, believing all was lost, took his own life, his body falling to the earth, the scent of dust and despair a quiet end to his resistance. Brutus, seeing his forces crumble, followed suit weeks later, his death a quiet whisper of the Republic's ideals, the stars above a cold witness to his fall. The victory at Philippi cemented Octavian's rise, his name now a quiet force in Rome, the forum filled with the cheers of citizens who saw in him a savior, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. But the triumvirate was a fragile alliance, its members united by necessity but divided by ambition, their voices a soft murmur of distrust beneath their public unity. Antony took control of the east, his legions stationed in Asia Minor, his heart soon captivated by Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, whose voice was a melody of power, the scent of lotus flowers and myrrh, a reminder of her realm. Lepidus was sidelined, his influence a fading whisper, the scent of leather and iron a memory of his legions, now under Octavian's command. Octavian returned to Italy, his focus on consolidating power, his voice a soft promise of stability, the 7 hills standing as silent witnesses to his ascent. Octavian's early rule in Italy was marked by challenges his legions tasked with settling Caesar's veterans, their voices a quiet demand for the lands they had been promised, the scent of earth and wildflowers, a symbol of their new lives. He faced unrest from Antony's supporters, their voices a murmur of discontent in the forum, the air thick with the scent of tension. But Octavian's cunning and determination saw him through, his reforms a quiet echo of Caesar's, his name a whisper of hope in a city that longed for peace. As the sun set over the Tiber, casting a warm glow across the city, the Romans gathered in their homes, their oil lamps flickering in the darkness, their voices a soft murmur of hope and fear. The rise of Octavian, a quiet tide that would carry Rome toward a new era, its destiny a mystery yet to be revealed. Envision the sun setting over the shimmering waters of the eastern Mediterranean in 41 BC, its amber light casting a warm glow on the marble palaces of Alexandria, a city that stands as the jewel of the Ptolemaic kingdom. The air is thick with the scent of lotus flowers and myrrh, mingling with the hum of life in the bustling harbor, where ships from India and Ethiopia dock with cargoes of spices and ivory, their sails billowing like the wings of a great bird against the twilight sky. Here, in this city of wonders, Mark Antony, Rome's most powerful general in the East, meets Cleopatra VII, the Queen of Egypt. Their encounter a quiet spark that will ignite a love affair as legendary as it is doomed. Their voices a soft melody of power and passion that will echo through history. Their alliance a quiet challenge to the rising star of Octavian in the West. Mark Antony, now 42 years old, was a man of rugged charm, his face weathered by years of war, his voice a roar that could rally legions. The scent of leather and iron a constant reminder of his military life. After the Battle of Philippi, Antony had taken control of Rome's eastern provinces, his legions stationed in Asia Minor, his rule a quiet promise of stability in lands once ruled by Hellenistic kings. He arrived in Tarsus, a port city in Cilicia, to summon Cleopatra, his voice a soft command that carried across the sea, the scent of salt and cedar a reminder of his journey. Cleopatra, at 28, was a woman of extraordinary intellect and allure, her dark eyes sharp with cunning, her voice a melody that could sway kings, the scent of myrrh and papyrus, a testament to her royal lineage, her Greek heritage blended with the traditions of the pharaohs. Cleopatra arrived in Tarsus on a golden barge, its sails dyed purple, its oars dipping into the water in perfect rhythm, the scent of roses and frankincense drifting on the breeze as musicians played soft melodies on lyres and flutes. She reclined beneath a canopy of silk, dressed as Aphrodite, the goddess of love, her hair adorned with pearls, her presence a quiet enchantment that captivated Antony, the air thick with the scent of desire. Antony, struck by her beauty and wit, invited her to a feast, his voice a soft invitation, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces as they spoke late into the night, their laughter a melody that echoed through the halls, the scent of wine and exotic spices a reminder of the worlds they bridged. Their meeting marked the beginning of a love affair that would define their lives. Their voices a quiet promise of partnership, their hearts intertwined like the Nile and the Mediterranean. Antony followed Cleopatra to Alexandria, his legions stationed nearby. His heart now a captive of the queen who ruled Egypt with a quiet ferocity. The city welcomed him with open arms, its streets lined with cheering crowds, the air thick with the scent of lotus flowers and incense. The great library, a silent witness to their union. Antony and Cleopatra spent their days in the palace, their voices a soft murmur of strategy and love, the scent of myrrh and papyrus heavy in the air as they planned their future. Cleopatra bore Antony twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene. Their cries a quiet echo of the bond that united their parents, the stars above a cold witness to their joy. Antony, entranced by Cleopatra's vision, granted her vast territories, Cyprus, Crete, parts of Syria. His decrees a quiet testament to their alliance, the scent of salt and cedar a reminder of the lands they now shared. But their love affair was more than personal. It was political, a quiet challenge to Octavian, who ruled the West with a growing iron grip, his name a whisper of ambition in Rome. Antony's alliance with Cleopatra gave him access to Egypt's wealth, its grain a lifeline for his legions, its gold a quiet promise of power, the scent of papyrus and lotus flowers, a reminder of the queen who stood by his side. Together, they dreamed of a new empire, one that would rival Rome, its capital in Alexandria, its rulers a blend of Roman and Greek, their voices a soft melody of unity in a divided world. Antony began to adopt Eastern customs, his toga replaced by the flowing robes of a Hellenistic king, his voice a quiet echo of the pharaohs, as he sat beside Cleopatra in ceremonies to Osiris and Isis, the scent of incense and myrrh, a testament to his new role. In Rome, Octavian seized on Antony's Eastern alliance to turn public opinion against him, his voice a soft but relentless campaign of propaganda, the forum filled with the murmur of citizens who heard tales of Antony's betrayal. Octavian portrayed Antony as a man seduced by a foreign queen, his loyalty to Rome a fading whisper, the scent of leather and iron replaced by the decadence of the East, the air thick with the scent of discontent. Octavian spread stories of Antony's excesses, his feasts in Alexandria, his gifts to Cleopatra, his plans to move the capital, each a quiet dagger aimed at Antony's reputation, the torchlight casting a warm glow on the faces of Romans who now saw him as a traitor. Octavian also secured Antony's will, a document that revealed his intentions to leave his eastern territories to his children, with Cleopatra, its words a quiet outrage that fueled Roman anger, the scent of papyrus and ink, a reminder of the betrayal they felt. Antony and Cleopatra, aware of Octavian's machinations, prepared for war, their voices a quiet resolve as they gathered their forces, the scent of salt and cedar heavy in the air, as their fleets assembled in the eastern Mediterranean. Antony's legions, bolstered by Cleopatra's wealth, numbered 100,000 men, their shields emblazoned with the symbols of Rome. In Egypt, their voices a soft chant of loyalty to their general and queen, the air thick with the scent of anticipation. Cleopatra's navy with its sleek warships added 200 vessels to their fleet, their sails dyed purple and gold, their oars dipping into the water in perfect rhythm. The scent of myrrh and lotus flowers a reminder of the queen who sailed with them. Together, they planned to confront Octavian, their alliance a quiet promise of victory, their hearts united in a cause that would either crown them rulers of the world or cast them into history's shadows. As the sun set over Alexandria, casting a warm glow across the harbor, Antony and Cleopatra stood on the balcony of the palace, their voices a soft murmur of love and strategy, the air thick with the scent of jasmine and the distant hum of the city. The great library, with its scrolls of ancient wisdom, stood as a silent witness to their dreams, its halls filled with the scent of ink and dust, a reminder of the knowledge that had once made Alexandria the center of the world. The Pharos lighthouse, its beacon a star on the horizon, guided their ships to sea, their sails catching the wind like the wings of a great bird. their journey a quiet promise of the battles to come. The love of Antony and Cleopatra, a flame that burned bright in the darkness, was a quiet challenge to Rome. Its echoes a whisper of a future that would soon be decided on the waves of the Mediterranean, its destiny a mystery yet to be revealed. Imagine the eastern Mediterranean in the summer of 32 BC, where the sun beats down on a sea as blue as the sky above, its waves lapping gently against the rocky shores of Greece. The air carries the scent of salt and wild thyme mingling with the distant hum of life in the port of Actium, a small town on the western coast, where the fate of the Roman world will soon be decided. The tension between Mark Antony and Octavian, once allies in the Second Triumvirate, has grown into a quiet storm, their rivalry a flame that burns through the Republic's final days, their voices a soft but unyielding challenge to each other's power. The road to Actium is paved with years of distrust, propaganda, and ambition, its path a quiet journey through a world on the brink of war. The stars above a cold witness to the battles that loom on the horizon. The alliance between Antony and Octavian, forged in the aftermath of Caesar's assassination, had always been fragile, its bonds strained by ambition and rivalry, their voices a murmur of distrust beneath their public unity. After the Battle of Philippi in 42 BC, the two had divided the Roman world between them. Antony taking the east with its glittering cities and vast wealth, and Octavian ruling the west with its legions and the city of Rome itself. Antony's alliance with Cleopatra had deepened the divide, his love for the Egyptian queen a quiet flame that burned through Roman sensibilities, the scent of lotus flowers and myrrh, a reminder of the east that now held his heart. Octavian in the west had consolidated his power with a quiet efficiency, his reforms a soft echo of Caesar's, his name, a whisper of stability in a city that longed for peace, the 7 hills standing as silent witnesses to his rise. The years following Philippi saw the rift between Antony and Octavian widen, their voices a quiet storm that echoed through the Mediterranean. Antony in Alexandria had embraced the role of a Hellenistic king, his toga replaced by the flowing robes of the East, his voice a soft echo of the pharaohs as he sat beside Cleopatra, in ceremonies to Osiris and Isis, the scent of incense and myrrh heavy in the air. He granted Cleopatra and their children vast territories, his decrees a quiet testament to their shared vision, the scent of papyrus and ink, a reminder of the empire they dreamed of building. In Rome, Octavian used these actions to fuel his propaganda campaign, his voice a soft but relentless attack on Antony's loyalty, the forum filled with the murmur of citizens who heard tales of betrayal, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces as they turned against their eastern general. Octavian's campaign was a masterstroke of manipulation, his words a quiet dagger aimed at Antony's reputation, the air thick with the scent of discontent. He declared Antony a traitor to Rome, his alliance with Cleopatra a quiet outrage that threatened the Republic's honor, the scent of leather and iron a reminder of the legions that stood with him. Octavian secured Antony's will, a document that revealed his intentions to leave his eastern territories to his children with Cleopatra. Its words a quiet scandal that fueled Roman anger, the scent of papyrus and ink, a testament to the betrayal they felt. In 32 BC, Octavian declared war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra, a foreign queen whose influence had corrupted a Roman general, his voice a soft but deliberate choice that rallied the Senate and the people, the air thick with the scent of unity, as Rome prepared for war. Antony and Cleopatra, aware of Octavian's intentions, gathered their forces, their voices a quiet resolve as they prepared for the inevitable confrontation, the scent of salt and cedar heavy in the air as their fleets assembled in the eastern Mediterranean. Antony's legions, bolstered by Cleopatra's wealth, numbered 100,000 men, their shields emblazoned with the symbols of Rome and Egypt, their voices a soft chant of loyalty to their general and queen, the air thick with the scent of anticipation. Cleopatra's navy, with its sleek warships, added 200 vessels to their fleet, their sails dyed purple and gold, their oars dipping into the water in perfect rhythm, the scent of myrrh and lotus flowers a reminder of the queen who sailed with them. Together, they established their base at Actium, a strategic port on the Ambracian Gulf. Its waters a quiet haven for their ships, the scent of wild thyme and salt a constant companion as they planned their strategy. Octavian, in the west, prepared his own forces, his voice a soft but unyielding command as he rallied his legions, the scent of leather and iron heavy in the air as they marched to meet their enemy. He relied on the talents of Marcus Agrippa, a loyal friend and gifted admiral, whose voice was a quiet reassurance in the chaos of war, the scent of salt and cedar, a reminder of the fleet he would lead. Agrippa's navy, smaller but more agile than Antony's, numbered 400 ships, their sails catching the wind like the wings of a great bird, their bronze rams gleaming in the sunlight, the air thick with the scent of anticipation as they sailed toward Actium. Octavian's legions, 80,000 strong, marched along the Via Egnatia, their footsteps a soft thunder on the dusty path, the scent of pine and wildflowers trailing in their wake, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of Rome, their voices a chant of loyalty to their leader. The road to Actium was marked by months of maneuvering, a quiet dance of strategy and deception that played out across the Mediterranean. Antony and Cleopatra, based in Actium, faced challenges from the start, their forces plagued by disease and desertion, the air thick with the scent of fever and despair as malaria swept through their camps. Antony's Roman soldiers, loyal but weary, began to waver, their voices a murmur of discontent as they watched Cleopatra's influence grow. The scent of myrrh and lotus flowers a reminder of the foreign queen who stood by their general. Many defected to Octavian, their shields laid down, their voices a soft plea for mercy, the scent of dust and leather a testament to their betrayal. Antony, his resolve tested, clung to Cleopatra, their love a quiet flame that burned through the darkness, the stars above a cold witness to their struggle. Octavian and Agrippa, meanwhile, tightened their grip, their strategy a quiet but relentless pressure that forced Antony into a corner, the air thick with the scent of inevitability. Agrippa blockaded Actium, his ships cutting off Antony's supply lines, their sails a dark omen against the horizon, the scent of salt and seaweed a reminder of the sea that now held them captive. Antony's forces, trapped and dwindling, faced starvation, their voices a murmur of despair as they rationed their grain, the scent of smoke and hunger heavy in the air. Cleopatra, ever resourceful, urged Antony to fight, her voice a soft but urgent plea, the scent of lotus flowers and myrrh, a reminder of the wealth that still sustained them. Antony, his heart heavy with the weight of his choices, agreed, his voice a quiet command as he prepared his fleet for battle, the air thick with the scent of anticipation as the day of reckoning approached. The road to Actium was a journey of inevitability, a quiet path that led two of Rome's greatest leaders to a confrontation that would decide the fate of the world. On the eve of battle, Antony and Cleopatra stood on the deck of their flagship, their voices a soft murmur of love and strategy, the scent of salt and myrrh heavy in the air as they gazed at the horizon. Agrippa's ships patrolled the waters, their sails a quiet promise of the fight to come, the stars above a cold witness to the tension that gripped them. In Octavian's camp, the legions prepared for battle, their shields polished, their swords sharp, the scent of leather and iron a reminder of the victory they sought. As the sun set over the Ambracian Gulf, casting a warm glow across the sea, the world held its breath. The road to Actium, a quiet journey that would end in a battle that would change history forever, its echoes a whisper of a new era yet to be born. Imagine the western coast of Greece on the morning of September 2nd, 31st BC, where the sun rises over the Ambracian Gulf, its golden light shimmering on the waves that lap gently against the shores of Actium. The air is thick with the scent of salt and wild thyme, mingling with the distant hum of oars dipping into the water, their rhythm a quiet heartbeat in the stillness of dawn. Here on this fateful day, two of Rome's greatest leaders, Mark Antony and Octavian, face each other in a naval battle that will decide the fate of the Roman world. Their rivalry a quiet storm that is built over years of ambition and betrayal. The Battle of Actium, a clash of fleets and dreams, unfolds under a sky streaked with amber, Its echoes a whisper of the end of the Republic and the dawn of an empire the stars above, a fading witness to the chaos that unfolds below. Antony and Cleopatra, their forces gathered at Actium for months, stand on the deck of their flagship, the Antoniad, a massive quinquereme adorned with purple sails and golden carvings. Its prow shaped like a serpent, the scent of myrrh and lotus flowers heavy in the air. Antony, at 52, is a man weathered by war. His face etched with determination, his voice a quiet command as he surveys his fleet, the scent of leather and iron a reminder of the legions that stand with him. Cleopatra, at 38, is a vision of regal power, her dark eyes sharp with resolve, her voice a soft melody that steadies Antony's heart, the scent of papyrus and incense, a testament to the wealth of Egypt that has sustained their campaign. Their fleet numbers 230 ships, many of them large and heavily armed. Their decks crowded with soldiers, their sails catching the morning breeze, the air thick with the scent of anticipation as they prepare to break Agrippa's blockade. Octavian on the opposite shore watches from his camp, his pale face calm but resolute, his voice a soft whisper of strategy as he confers with Marcus Agrippa, the admiral whose genius has brought them to this moment. Octavian, at 32, is a man of quiet ambition, his delicate health belied by a mind as sharp as a gladius, the scent of dust and leather, a reminder of the legions that have carried him to power. Agrippa, a man of rugged strength, commands a fleet of 400 ships, smaller but more agile than Antony's, their bronze rams gleaming in the sunlight, their sails a patchwork of white and crimson, the air thick with the scent of salt and cedar, as they form a tight line across the Gulf. Octavian's forces, 80,000 strong, wait on the shore, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of Rome, their voices a soft chant of loyalty, the scent of wild thyme and sweat a constant companion as they brace for battle. The battle begins as Antony's fleet moves to break through Agrippa's line, their ships lumbering forward, the oars dipping into the water in a steady rhythm, the scent of salt and sweat heavy in the air. Antony's strategy is to use his larger ships to overpower Agrippa's smaller vessels, their heavy catapults launching stones and flaming arrows, the air filled with the crackle of fire and the cries of sailors as the missiles find their marks. But Agrippa's ships, swift and maneuverable, dart between Antony's larger vessels, their rams striking at vulnerable hulls, the splintering of wood a quiet roar in the chaos of battle. Agrippa's fleet employs a tactic of encirclement, their ships forming a crescent around Antony's line, the air thick with the scent of smoke and blood as the battle intensifies, the waves stained with the debris of shattered ships. Cleopatra's ships, positioned at the rear, hold their position, their sails furled, their oars poised, the scent of myrrh and lotus flowers a quiet reminder of the queen who watches from the Antoniad. But as the battle turns against Antony, his ships trapped by Agrippa's encirclement, Cleopatra makes a fateful decision, her voice a soft command that echoes through her fleet, the air thick with the scent of urgency. Her 60 ships raise their sails, catching a sudden northern breeze, their oars pulling hard as they break through a gap in Agrippa's line, the scent of salt and cedar trailing in their wake as they flee south toward Egypt. Antony, seeing Cleopatra's retreat, abandons his flagship, his voice a cry of desperation as he boards a smaller vessel to follow her, the air thick with the scent of despair as he leaves his fleet behind, the stars above a cold witness to his choice. Antony's departure shatters the morale of his forces, their voices a murmur of confusion as they watch their general flee, the scent of smoke and blood a reminder of the battle they now fight alone. Many of Antony's ships surrender, their sails lowered, their soldiers laying down their arms, the air thick with the scent of submission as Agrippa's fleet closes in. Others fight on, their resistance a quiet defiance, the clash of metal and the crackle of fire echoing through the Gulf. But the outcome is inevitable. The waves littered with the wreckage of Antony's dreams, the scent of salt and despair heavy in the air. By the end of the day, Agrippa's fleet has triumphed the Battle of Actium, a decisive victory for Octavian. Its echoes a quiet roar that signals the end of an era, the Ambracian Gulf, a silent witness to the fall of Antony and Cleopatra. Antony and Cleopatra escaped to Egypt, their ships cutting through the waves, the scent of salt and myrrh, a reminder of the home they returned to, their hearts heavy with the weight of defeat. On the Antoniad they stand together, their voices a soft murmur of love and regret, the air thick with the scent of lotus flowers as they gaze at the horizon, the stars above a fading witness to their flight. Agrippa's ships pursue, their sails a dark omen against the twilight sky. But Antony and Cleopatra slip through the cordon, their escape a quiet testament to their determination. The scent of salt and cedar, a reminder of the sea that has carried them to safety. Back at Actium, Octavian celebrates his victory, his voice a soft whisper of triumph as he surveys the wreckage. The scent of smoke and blood, a testament to the battle that has secured his power, the 7 hills of Rome, a distant promise of the empire he will build. The Battle of Actium marks the end of the Republic's long struggle, its institutions now a fading whisper in the wind, its future in the hands of one man. As the sun sets over the Ambracian Gulf, casting a warm glow across the sea, the sailors gather on the shore, their campfires flickering like stars in the night. The scent of roasted meat and wild thyme a comfort to weary men. The waves whisper tales of the battle that has just ended their rhythm, a quiet lullaby for a world that has changed forever. The echoes of Actium, a soft promise of the empire to come its destiny, a mystery yet to be revealed. Envision the sun rising over the Nile Delta in the summer of 30 BC, its golden light casting a warm glow on the marble palaces of Alexandria, a city that once stood as the center of the Hellenistic world. The air is thick with the scent of lotus flowers and papyrus mingling with the distant hum of life. In the bustling harbor, where the Pharaoh's lighthouse, its beacon a fading star, watches over a city on the brink of collapse. Mark Antony and Cleopatra, having fled the defeat at Actium, have returned to Egypt their love, a quiet flame that burns through the darkness of their impending doom. Their voices a soft murmur of defiance in a world that has turned against them. The fall of Antony and Cleopatra, a tragedy as timeless as the Nile itself unfolds under a sky streaked with amber, its echoes a whisper of the end of an era, the stars above a cold witness to their final days. Antony, now 53, is a man broken by defeat, his face etched with despair, his voice a quiet lament as he wanders the halls of the palace, the scent of leather and myrrh a fading reminder of the legions he once commanded. The Battle of Actium had shattered his forces, his fleet destroyed, his soldiers scattered, their voices a murmur of betrayal as many defected to Octavian, the scent of dust and despair a testament to their loss. Cleopatra, at 39, remains a queen of quiet resolve, her dark eyes sharp with determination, her voice a soft melody that seeks to rally what remains of their power. The scent of lotus flowers and incense, a reminder of the wealth that still sustains them. Together they prepare for Octavian's inevitable pursuit, their hearts heavy with the weight of their choices, the air thick with the scent of anticipation as they brace for the end. Octavian, victorious at Actium, turns his attention to Egypt, his voice a soft but unyielding command as he prepares to finish what he began. The scent of salt and cedar heavy in the air as his fleet sails south. He pauses briefly in Italy, his legions threatening mutiny. Their voices a quiet demand for the rewards they were promised, the scent of dust and leather a reminder of their loyalty. Octavian soothes them with gold and land, his voice a soft promise of glory. The forum filled with the cheers of citizens who see in him a savior, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. After a month he returns to the east, his ships cutting through the waves, the scent of salt and seaweed, a reminder of the sea that will carry him to Alexandria. His legions marching along the coast, their footsteps a soft thunder on the sandy path, the scent of wild thyme and sweat, a constant companion. Antony and Cleopatra, aware of Octavian's approach, muster their remaining forces, their voices a quiet resolve as they prepare to defend Alexandria, the scent of papyrus and myrrh heavy in the air as they plan their final stand. Antony's army, once 100,000 strong, has dwindled to a fraction of its former size, their numbers reduced by desertion and disease, the air thick with the scent of fever and despair as they gather on the city's outskirts. Cleopatra's wealth, though vast, cannot replace the soldiers they have lost. Her treasury a quiet promise of resistance, the scent of gold and incense a reminder of the kingdom she fights for. Antony, in a desperate bid to rally his men, leads his forces out to confront Octavian. His voice a quiet roar of defiance, the scent of leather and iron a testament to his determination. The Nile reflecting the sunlight like a silver ribbon as he marches to battle. But Antony's efforts are in vain, his soldiers' morale shattered by the defeat at Actium. Their voices a murmur of fear as they face Octavian's legions, the air thick with the scent of inevitability. On the day of battle, Antony's warships, once the pride of his fleet, defect to Octavian without a fight. Their sails lowered, their oars still the scent of salt and submission heavy in the air as they join the enemy. His land forces, seeing the betrayal, flee the battlefield, their footsteps a quiet thunder on the sandy ground, the scent of dust and despair trailing in their wake. Antony, abandoned by his men, returns to Alexandria in despair, his heart heavy with the weight of failure. The scent of lotus flowers and myrrh a bitter reminder of the queen who waits for him, the stars above a cold witness to his fall. In the palace, Cleopatra receives news of Antony's defeat, her voice a soft cry of anguish as she prepares for the end, the air thick with the scent of incense and grief. She barricades herself in her mausoleum, a grand structure filled with her treasures, the scent of gold and myrrh heavy in the air, as she surrounds herself with the wealth of Egypt. Her children, Alexander, Helios, Cleopatra, Selene, and Ptolemy Philadelphus, sent to safety, their voices a fading whisper in the chaos. Antony, believing Cleopatra has taken her own life, falls into despair, his voice a quiet lament as he draws his sword, the scent of leather and blood a testament to his resolve. He falls on his blade, his body crumpling to the floor, the air thick with the scent of tragedy as he dies in Cleopatra's arms. Their love a quiet flame that burns even in death, the palace a silent witness to their final embrace. Cleopatra, now alone, faces Octavian's forces as they enter Alexandria, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of Rome, their voices a soft chant of victory, the scent of dust and iron heavy in the air. Octavian takes possession of the city, his voice a quiet command as he surveys the spoils, the scent of papyrus and incense, a reminder of the wealth he has claimed. Cleopatra, captured and brought before him, maintains her dignity, her voice a soft defiance as she negotiates for her children's future, the air thick with the scent of lotus flowers and myrrh, a testament to her royal lineage. But Octavian, determined to erase her legacy, plans to parade her in his triumph in Rome, his voice a quiet promise of humiliation, the scent of salt and cedar, a reminder of the journey that awaits her. Cleopatra, unwilling to face such shame, chooses her own end, her voice a soft whisper of resolve as she prepares to join Antony in death, the air thick with the scent of tragedy. She adorns herself in her finest robes, her hair styled with pearls, the scent of myrrh and lotus flowers a quiet farewell to the world she ruled. Legend tells of an asp, its venom, a quiet promise of release, the air thick with the scent of her final breath as she presses the serpent to her breast, her body falling to the floor, the mausoleum, a silent witness to her death. With Cleopatra's passing, Egypt falls to Octavian, its riches paraded through the streets of Rome, the scent of gold and incense a testament to his triumph, the Nile a quiet lament for the queen who once ruled its banks. As the sun sets over Alexandria, casting a warm glow across the harbor, the city mourns its queen, the air thick with the scent of lotus flowers and grief, the pharaoh's lighthouse a fading beacon in the twilight. Octavian stands in the palace, his voice a soft whisper of victory, the scent of papyrus and myrrh a reminder of the kingdom he has claimed, the stars above a cold witness to the fall of Antony and Cleopatra. Their love of flame that burned bright in the darkness is now a quiet memory. Its echoes a whisper of a world that has changed forever, the 7 hills of Rome, a distant promise of the empire that will rise from their ashes. Picture the streets of Rome in August of 29 BC, where the sun rises over the 7 hills, casting a golden glow on a city that celebrates the dawn of a new era. The Forum, The heart of the city is alive with the scent of flowers and roasted meat, the air thick with the cheers of citizens who have gathered to witness a spectacle unlike any before, a triple triumph, a 3-day celebration of Octavian's victories over Antony, Cleopatra, and the forces that once threatened Rome. The Tiber River, winding gently through the city, reflects the dawn light, its waters carrying the weight of a republic that has been transformed into an empire, its future now in the hands of one man, Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus, soon to be known as Augustus, his triumph a quiet testament to the power he has won, the stars above a fading witness to the past he has left behind. Octavian, now 33 years old, stands at the head of the procession, his face calm but resolute, his voice a soft whisper of authority as he leads the triumph, his crimson cloak billowing in the breeze, the scent of myrrh and incense heavy in the air. The triple triumph held over 3 days celebrates his victories in Illyricum at Actium and in Egypt, each day a quiet testament to his dominance. The forum filled with the cheers of the crowd, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. On the first day, the spoils of Illyricum are paraded, their bronze shields and spears a reminder of the campaigns that secured Rome's northern borders, the scent of leather and iron a testament to the legions that fought there. On the second day, the victory at Actium is celebrated. Models of Antony's ships carried on carts, their sails tattered, their prows shattered, the scent of salt and cedar, a reminder of the battle that secured Octavian's power. The third day, the triumph over Egypt is the grandest of all its spectacle, a quiet erasure of Antony and Cleopatra's legacy, the air thick with the scent of lotus flowers and gold, as the spoils of Alexandria are paraded through the streets. Chests of Egyptian gold, their weight a burden for the soldiers who carry them, gleam in the sunlight, their contents a quiet promise of prosperity for Rome, the scent of incense and myrrh, a reminder of the kingdom that has fallen. Statues of the Nile gods, their faces serene, are carried on litters, their presence a quiet testament to the lands Octavian has claimed, the air thick with the cheers of the crowd as they marvel at the wealth of the East. A wax effigy of Cleopatra, adorned with the asp that ended her life, is displayed, her image a quiet humiliation, the scent of papyrus, and myrrh a bitter reminder of her defeat, the forum a silent witness to her erased legacy. Antony's memory is systematically besmirched, his statues smashed, their fragments scattered through the streets, the scent of dust and stone a testament to Octavian's determination to erase his rival. The air thick with the murmur of citizens who once cheered for Antony, now silenced by the weight of Octavian's victory. Antony's name is removed from public records, his honors stripped away, his legacy a fading whisper in the wind, the scent of leather and iron a distant memory of the general he once was. Octavian, ever the master of propaganda, ensures that Antony is remembered as a traitor. His alliance with Cleopatra, a quiet betrayal of Rome. The forum filled with the murmur of stories that paint him as a man seduced by a foreign queen. His honor lost in the sands of Egypt. To bolster his own popularity, Octavian bestows largesse upon the Romans on an unprecedented scale. His voice a soft promise of prosperity, the scent of bread and wine a symbol of his generosity. He distributes grain from Egypt to the urban poor, their voices a quiet gratitude as they line up in the forum. The air thick with the aroma of freshly baked loaves, a reminder of the wealth that now flows from the Nile to the Tiber. Veterans of his legions receive land in Italy and the provinces, their shields laid down, their hands now turning the earth. The scent of wildflowers and freshly plowed soil, a testament to their new lives. Gold is given to every citizen, their hands trembling as they receive their share. The clink of coins a soft melody in the streets, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces as they celebrate their new leader. Octavian's triumph is more than a celebration. It is a quiet declaration of his power, a moment that marks the transition from republic to empire, the air thick with the scent of change. The Senate, once a body of shared governance, now bows to Octavian, their togas a stark contrast to the crimson cloak of the man who rules them. Their voices a soft murmur of loyalty as they grant him honors, the scent of incense heavy in the curia. He is given the title Princeps, first citizen, a quiet acknowledgement of his dominance, the air thick with the scent of papyrus and ink. As his decrees are written, the 7 hills standing as silent witnesses to the new order he creates. Octavian's reforms begin to take shape. His voice a soft promise of stability. The scent of dust and leather a reminder of the legions that secure his rule. The Forum a quiet testament to the empire he will build. The triumph also marks the end of an era. The Republic's institutions now a fading whisper in the wind. Its ideals of shared governance replaced by the rule of one man. The air thick with the scent of inevitability. The citizens of Rome, their hearts filled with hope and fear, gather in their homes as the sun sets over the Tiber. Their oil lamps flickering in the darkness, the scent of burning wood and barley porridge, a comfort in uncertain times. They speak in hushed tones of Octavian's triumph, of the wealth that has flowed into the city, and of the future that lies ahead. Their voices a soft murmur of anticipation, the echoes of Antony and Cleopatra a distant memory, the stars above a cold witness to the world that has changed forever. Imagine the sun rising over the 7 hills of Rome in 27 BC, its golden light casting a warm glow on a city that stands as the heart of a new empire. The Forum, once the center of a republic torn by strife, now hums with a quiet order, the air thick with the scent of incense and freshly baked bread. The murmur of voices rising like a gentle breeze, merchants bartering for silks from the east, priests offering prayers to Jupiter, and citizens speaking in hushed tones of the man who has brought them peace, Gaius Julius Caesar. Octavianus, now known as Augustus, has transformed Rome, his voice a soft but unyielding command that has reshaped the world, the scent of papyrus and ink, a reminder of the decrees that have secured his legacy. The birth of the Roman Empire. A quiet dawn after decades of chaos unfolds under a sky streaked with amber. Its echoes a whisper of a new era, the stars above a fading witness to the republic that once was. Augustus, at 35 years old, stands as the undisputed ruler of Rome, his pale face calm but resolute, his voice a soft whisper of authority as he governs from the Palatine Hill, his villa a sanctuary where the scent of jasmine and wine offers a quiet solace. In 27 BC, the Senate grants him the title Augustus, the revered one, a name that marks his transition from a mere man to a figure of divine reverence. The air thick with the scent of incense as priests offer prayers in his honor. The Forum filled with the cheers of citizens who see in him a savior, the torchlight casting a warm glow on their faces. Augustus's rule is a delicate balance, a quiet dance between tradition and power. His title of Princeps, first citizen, a nod to the Republic's ideals. The scent of dust and leather, a reminder of the legions that secure his empire. The 7 hills standing as silent witnesses to his reign. Augustus's reforms are a quiet testament to his vision, his decrees a soft melody that brings order to a world once torn by civil war. The air thick with the scent of change. He reorganizes the Roman army, creating a standing force of 28 legions, 150,000 men, whose loyalty is to the emperor alone, their shields emblazoned with the eagle of Rome, their voices a soft chant of allegiance as they guard the empire's borders, the scent of leather and iron a constant companion. The Praetorian Guard, an elite unit tasked with protecting Augustus, is established their presence a quiet promise of security in the city. The air thick with the scent of discipline as they patrol the streets, their armor gleaming in the sunlight. Augustus also reforms the provinces, appointing loyal governors to oversee them, their voices a soft echo of his authority. The scent of papyrus and ink, a reminder of the taxes that flow from Egypt, Gaul, and Spain to the Tiber. The Pax Romana, a period of peace that will last for centuries, begins under Augustus, its quiet dawn a relief for a world weary of war. The air thick with the scent of prosperity. Trade flourishes, ships from India and Ethiopia docking in the ports of Ostia, their holds filled with spices and ivory. The scent of saffron and cedar, a reminder of the empire's reach, the Tiber reflecting the sunlight like a silver ribbon as merchants unload their goods. Roads, like the Via Appia and the Via Augusta, stretch across the empire, their stones worn smooth by the sandals of travelers. The scent of pine and wildflowers a constant companion as they connect Rome to its farthest provinces. In the Forum, the Basilica Julia and the Temple of Apollo Palatinus built by Augustus stand as symbols of his reign, their marble columns glowing in the sunlight, their interiors filled with the scent of incense and myrrh, a quiet testament to the emperor who has rebuilt the city. Augustus's cultural reforms are a quiet celebration of Roman identity. His voice a soft encouragement for the arts and literature that will define his era, the scent of ink and papyrus heavy in the air, as poets and historians flourish under his patronage. Virgil writes the Aeneid, a quiet epic that traces Rome's origins to the Trojan hero Aeneas. Its verses a soft melody that echoes through the halls of the Palatine, the scent of jasmine and wine, a backdrop to its recitations. Horace composes odes of peace and love, his voice a soft whisper of gratitude for the stability Augustus has brought. The air thick with the scent of inspiration as he writes by lamplight. Livy chronicles Rome's history, his scrolls a quiet testament to the empire's greatness, the scent of dust and history, a reminder of the past that Augustus has shaped into a glorious present. The long-term impact of Augustus's reign is a quiet legacy that will endure for centuries. His empire a vast tapestry of cultures united under a single rule, the air thick with the scent of unity. The Roman Empire stretches from the Atlantic to the Euphrates, its borders guarded by legions, its provinces a patchwork of languages and traditions, the scent of olive blossoms and saffron, a reminder of the lands that now bow to Rome. Augustus's system of governance, with its balance of power between emperor and senate, ensures stability. Its quiet structure a foundation for future rulers, the Forum a silent witness to the laws that govern the empire. The Pax Romana brings prosperity, its quiet peace a balm for a world once torn by war. The air thick with the scent of hope, as citizens look to a future brighter than their past. As the sun sets over the 7 hills casting a warm glow across the Tiber, the Romans gather in their homes, their oil lamps flickering in the darkness, the scent of burning wood and barley porridge, a comfort in a world that has found peace. They speak in hushed tones of Augustus, of the empire he has built, and of the legacy he will leave. Their voices a soft murmur of gratitude. The echoes of the Republic a distant memory, the stars above, a cold witness to the new era that has begun. The birth of the Roman Empire, a quiet dawn after decades of chaos, is a testament to Augustus's vision, its future a mystery yet to be revealed, its destiny written in the annals of history, a whisper of greatness that will echo through the ages.